The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251 arrived in time. Xia Xingchen chose a route which had hundreds of mechas of the Star Pirates. Xia Xingchen adjusted the flowing fire mecha rifle to the plasma cannon mode and then adjusted the scattering rate to the highest. The higher the scattering rate of plasma, the lower the plasma intensity per unit area will be, and the range will also be reduced, but at the same time, the coverage area of the plasma will increase. An orange-yellow plasma sprayed out, and the plasma scattered a few hundred meters away, to form an ionosphere with a diameter of more than 10 meters. All the mechas swept by the ionosphere were destroyed. In just 3 seconds, hundreds of mechas were instantly turned into dust, and a passage appeared in front of him. Xia Xingchen stepped on the power pedal, and rushed up like a tiger descending from the mountain. The flowing fire mecha laser rifle was adjusted to the continuous shooting mode again, and the 6 floating cannons behind it left the flywheel. Xia Xingchen separated 6 groups of mental power, to control the floating cannons respectively. The Star Pirate mechas that blocked him suffered and exploded one after another. The mecha masters of the Death Star Hotel suddenly felt the pressure on them relieved, but when they looked up, they could only see a flash of red light. Natalia was on the verge of exhaustion at this time, and her superpowers and mental strength were seriously overdrawn. At this time, Eva on the opposite side launched continuous attacks, and the Ice Queen mecha tried her best to dodge, but eventually lost her balance. Eva took the opportunity to launch a combat skill. The thrusters behind the Harpy Banshee mecha were fully opened, the claws of the mecha stretched forward, and the light swords of both arms also stretched out, attacking Natalia from 4 points. Natalia crossed the alloy double swords in front of her chest, and used up the last bit of superpowers and mental strength to form an ice curtain in front of the double swords. After a loud bang, the ice curtain shattered, the forearm part of the Ice Queen mecha broke, and the mecha lost its balance and rolled backwards. At this time, the power of the mecha was 0, the screen of the mecha was off, and only the life support system was still working. Natalia, whose mental power was severely overdrawn, covered her head with her hands, and felt a splitting pain. This pain made her faint, then woke up again, and then fainted again. Eva was very proud. She raised the electric light double swords and stabbed Natalia. Just when her sword was about to pierce the Ice Queen's mecha with a dozen meters, a thick orange laser shot at the Ice Queen's mecha from the side and back. This laser was very tricky. Eva suddenly flashed a warning in her mind. She instinctively turned her mecha around, and a laser hit the left shoulder of the mecha, and the left arm of the mecha was removed. Eva was so scared that her soul flew away that she turned around and ran. Xia Xingchen did not chase, but protected the Ice Queen's mecha, turned the direction of the mecha, and shot at the remaining Star Pirate mechas. The powerful Liu Ho mecha rifle's continuous shooting mode was turned on, continuously pouring out lasers, and the floating gun continued to kill people after a short recharge. Since Xingchen intervened in the battlefield, more than 500 mechas have been destroyed by him alone. Eva fled the battlefield in a panic. Space melee mechas have a flaw, that is, once the appearance of the mecha is damaged, it is difficult to control the balance of the mecha, let alone continue to fight. It is difficult to continue to drive normally. Eva now has no courage to fight, so she fled back to the mothership. Then, the Star Pirate's mothership fired a flare. In space, 3 flares of different colors were fired from Aquinovi's command ship, and the remaining Star Pirates immediately scattered like birds and beasts and retreated outward. In this battle, the Star Pirates lost nearly 2,500 mechas, while the Death Star Sea Hotel and the Galactic Freedom Army lost more than 900 mechas, about 1/3 of their troops. The Star Pirates retreated. Because Eva's mecha was injured, they currently did not have many top mecha divisions, so they were a little powerless to attack the Death Star Sea Hotel. At this time, the news that Xia Xingchen broke through from the periphery also came. Aquinovi was very nervous, and ordered the pirates to gather quickly in the direction of Watchstar to prevent being attacked from both inside and outside. At the same time, a large number of reconnaissance troops were sent to search along the direction from which Xia Xingchen came. The mecha divisions of the Death Star Sea Hotel and the Galaxy Freedom Army killed for a while, expanded the results of the battle, and drove the pirates out of the 50-kilometer range of the Death Star Sea Hotel. At this time, 3 flares were fired from the hotel, and they turned the mechas to evacuate. At this time, the hotel sent dozens of lifeboats and a large number of engineering mechas to clean up the battlefield under the cover of more than 100 mechas with relatively much remaining energy, looking for and rescuing survivors. Xia Xingchen landed at the door of the mecha warehouse closest to the command center under the guidance of the hotel tower. After fixing the mecha, someone came to pick up Xia Xingchen. They took a shuttle bus and came to the command center of the Death Star Sea Hotel. Xia Xingchen was arranged to wait in a conference room. Not long after, the door of the conference room opened, and a figure rushed in lightly and hugged Xia Xingchen tightly. "Xingchen, you're here. Thank you. Without you, we would have been dead." Chen Tingting's eyes filled with tears. "It's okay. I came here to inform you that reinforcement will arrive in 2 or 3 days. You must have confidence. The end of the pirates has come," Xia Xingchen said. Then, he closed the door of the conference room, took out a pen-shaped device, and scanned the room. After confirming that there were no eavesdropping devices in the room, he pulled Chen Tingting to sit down and said to her seriously, "Actually, I came here to perform a special mission this time. I think someone from the military intelligence department of the Galactic Empire has contacted you." Chen Tingting replied, "Yes, a major named Li Xiaoyang contacted us and said that an important person from the Galactic Empire would contact us. We were skeptical at first. Don't doubt it, this is true. This time I'm escorting that big shot here, and I found the abnormality of the Death Star Hotel on the way. Now my warship is lurking in the asteroid belt 300 kilometers away. I wonder who that big shot is. Does he have the final say? Can he represent the attitude of the Galactic Empire and the He family? Yes, absolutely. The person who came is Kinjana, the Star Princess of the Galactic Empire." Xia Xingchen arrived at the Death Star Hotel in time, injured Eva's mecha, and scared off the Star Pirates who were attacking the hotel. He explained the purpose of his trip to Chen Tingting in the conference room. Chen Tingting was very surprised to hear that the representative sent by the Galactic Empire was actually Princess Star. Chapter 252 Connection. "Xingchen, since the Empire is very sincere, then our Galaxy Freedom Army will fully cooperate with the Galaxy Empire to deal with Nicholas. Please rest assured about this. Princess Crossing Kinjana and the current Emperor Kinzhi of the Empire have lived with the miners. They are well aware of the hardship and suffering of the miners. Emperor Kinzhi is determined to ease the relationship between the miners and citizens, give more miners opportunities to come forward, and prepare to improve the living environment of the miners." Xia Xingchen explained. "That's great. Let's go to Judge Merc together and talk about the next step." Chen Tingting agreed, and the two went to the judge's office. The staff told the two that the judge was meditating, and he hadn't slept for 2 days and 2 nights. Xia Xingchen and Chen Tingting went to the mecha warehouse at the dock. He settled the Dragon Rider Warlord mecha and personally inspected it. Chen Tingting took this time to inspect the situation of the Galaxy Freedom Army. A few hours later, Judge Merc invited Xia Xingchen and Chen Tingting to his office. Compared to a year ago, Judge Merc's mental state was not very good. He had dark circles under his eyes, a tired face, and blisters on his mouth. He saw Xia Xingchen and took the initiative to stand up to greet him. "Xia Xingchen, welcome back here again. Thank you for your help. It's a piece of cake, Judge. How did you get here? How many of you are there?" Judge Merc asked anxiously. Xia Xingchen smiled. "You can rest assured, Chief Judge. In just 2 to 3 days, the reinforcement of the 3rd Fleet of the Galactic Empire will arrive here. What we have to do now is to conserve our strength. When the time comes, we can work together inside and outside to wipe out the pirates in one fell swoop." More than 10 days ago, the Watchstar space station sent a patrol fleet consisting of 2 medium-sized cruisers and 4 high-speed reconnaissance ships here, but there has been no news. It is estimated that they are in danger. A week ago, we sent another patrol fleet of the same size. Because our ships are more familiar with this place, they detoured to the asteroid belt and lurked about 150 kilometers away from here. When the reinforcement arrive, we will cut off the pirates' retreat. Okay, we will cooperate with all last strength, and will never let go of these bastards who are taking advantage of the fire. The Death Star Sea Hotel is my home, and it is a place I will protect all my life. Now it is surrounded by pirates, and I'm very unhappy. Chief Judge Merc punched the table heavily. B. Marwen traveled through the asteroid belt for 2 days without sleep, and also killed a small pirate ship and 2 mechas that were patrolling alone here. He felt that his strength had improved after the special training with Xia Xingchen in the past few months, and he even touched the threshold of a sea-level mecha master. He finally reached the main channel, so he turned on the Mirage system and slowed down. Now there will be a small pirate patrol ship passing by here every few minutes. His mecha was fixed on a rock at the edge of the asteroid belt, and the detector kept observing the surrounding situation, and he himself entered a state of rest. Scouts who carry out reconnaissance missions in space will learn this kind of practice. On the one hand, this practice can be combined with meditation to reduce the discomfort of humans staying in a small and enclosed space for a long time. On the other hand, it can greatly reduce the metabolic rate of the human body. The human body cannot avoid eating, drinking, defecating, urinating, and sleeping, but in the narrow mecha cockpit, it is not easy to solve these problems. Eating and drinking are easy to say. There are all kinds of space food. Urinating can also be easily solved. There are things like urine bags, but it is difficult to go to the toilet. In such a small space, feces will fly everywhere in a weightless environment, not to mention the pollution to the air. For this situation, the usual practice is that the scouts start eating liquid space food and paste space food with a high human absorption rate and almost no residue 2 days before the mission. And with a set of exercises to delay metabolism, the scouts can stay in space for a longer time. Ding ding. The prompt sound on the console sounded, and the instrument display screens and displays in the cockpit that were originally in a closed state also lit up one after another. It turned out that the detector he released in the distance in advance discovered the situation. B. Marwen opened his eyes and looked carefully. He found that there was a firefight in the space channel ahead. He immediately became alert and quickly entered a command code on the screen. The flight assistance device input all the remaining energy in the battery pack into the battery of the Dark Knight Bat Mech itself. A few minutes later, the battery of the Dark Knight Bat Mech was full. B. Marwen operated the mech, abandoned the flight assistance device, and flew to the place where the firefight occurred. The 6th Squadron of the 3rd Fleet of the Galaxy came this time. Major General Dodge personally led the flagship of the 6th Squadron, the Yuanshan heavy mecha cruiser, and other 50 medium-sized warships, as well as nearly 100 small spaceships and various supply ships, to come to the aid of the Death Star Sea Hotel. There are many pirates entrenched in the Death Star Sea Hotel this time, but their combat effectiveness is limited, which is just suitable for training. The large force encountered 2 small spaceships from the Watchstar S-02 fleet returning to the Watchstar to report the news 2 days ago. Then a day later, the large force met with the Watchstar S-02 fleet. The S-02 fleet followed Zhang Yengying's instructions and advanced cautiously all the way. They successively destroyed more than a dozen pirate patrol ships and even captured some prisoners, and learned that the Death Star Sea Hotel was besieged. The fleet commander quickly dispatched 2 small spaceships, one to the Watchstar space station to report the situation, and the other to search for reinforcement and transmit intelligence in a timely manner. In the next few days, the S-02 fleet carried out guerrilla warfare on the waterway, devouring small-scale star pirates in one gulp, and fleeing when encountering large forces. In just a few days, they achieved very remarkable results. A few days later, they joined the 6th Fleet. The fleet was fully deployed on the waterway, forming a carpet-like advancement method. It crushed all the way to the Death Star Hotel. Along the way, the fleet destroyed more than 500 small spaceships and medium-sized warships of star pirates at the cost of losing several mechas and a small warship. When B. Marwen arrived at the battlefield, the battle was over, and some mecha troops were cleaning up the battlefield. B. Marwen also belonged to the 6th Fleet, and had the 6th Fleet's identification code and communication frequency band. He quickly contacted the flagship. Under the guidance of the flagship, B. Marwen's Death Bat Mecha landed on the Yuanshan heavy mecha cruiser. Chapter 253 The War is Coming. Bima Wen, driving the Nightbat Mech alone, after drifting in space for many days, finally met the 6th Squadron of the 3rd Fleet of the Galaxy, which came to assist the Death Star Hotel. He finally let go of his hanging heart, because many scouts who performed such tasks did not wait for the people they were waiting for, and became floating corpses in space after the supplies and mech energy were exhausted. After landing on the Yuanshan, Bima Wen quickly came to the captain's room, personally reported the situation of the Death Star Hotel to Major General Dodge, and handed over a data storage device. It contained a holographic star map, based on the investigation of Bima Wen and Major Li Xiaoyang, the deployment of the pirates' forces, and several suggestions given by Zhang Yingying. Major General Dodge and his staff carefully analyzed the intelligence brought by Bima Wen. After determining the strength of the pirates, the entire 6th Squadron of the 3rd Fleet issued a first-level combat readiness alert. After 8 hours of rest, all departments will launch a general attack on the Equinovi pirates group entrenched outside the Death Star Hotel. Xia Xingchen has been busy these days. He has been in the mecha repair factory, repairing mechas one by one with his amazing repair speed. He knows very well that one more mecha that can be used now means a little more hope of victory. After accompanying Natalia, who is still unconscious due to severe mental overdraft, for half a day, Chen Tingting once again devoted herself to the preparation of various units of the Galaxy Freedom Army. She wants to cheer up the soldiers and boost their confidence. At this time, Equinovi and Eva had a serious disagreement in the Equinovi Star Pirates. The last time Eva launched a large-scale attack on the Death Star Hotel, she was repelled by Xia Xingchen, who rushed out, and her Harpy Banshee mecha was also seriously damaged. At this time, Equinovi was a little impatient, and began to retreat. Since the start of the war, nearly half of his troops have been lost. Although most of these half of the troops are some cannon fodder he recently recruited, it still makes him feel painful. The more important reason is that Xia Xingchen came in from outside the encirclement, which means that there are other troops not far away. Equinovi is very timid and cherishes his life. It is precisely because of this timidity and caution that he has survived the firefights of star pirates again and again. For him, if you keep the Green Mountains, you will not be afraid of running out of firewood. As long as you can escape with your life, your power will slowly develop. And he thinks that the losses are too great now, and you must preserve your strength. But Eva doesn't think so. She thinks that, even if you want to evacuate, you must take down the Death Star Hotel, plunder all the supplies in the hotel, and completely destroy the hotel's facilities. Only in this way can you achieve the goal of hitting the Galactic Empire to the maximum extent and strengthening yourself. If the Death Star Hotel survives this disaster and strengthens the hotel's defense, Equinovi's Star Pirate Group will be nailed to death on the periphery of the Death Star region, which is not in line with the original intention of the Northern Empire. The two argued endlessly on this matter, which also gave the hotel a chance to breathe. However, a day later, bad news came again. A pirate patrol fleet that encountered the S-02 patrol fleet in front sent a communication ship back quickly to report that they had encountered reinforcement from the Death Star Sea Hotel. Although the concentration of mysterious particles in this starfield is not as strong as that in the Death Star field, it can also greatly affect communication. The communication range is less than 100 kilometers, so the pirates can only rely on continuously sending small high-speed spacecraft as communication spacecraft to communicate with the pirate fleet that is performing the task of intercepting reinforcement. Then, something even more terrible happened soon. In the next 2 days, there were supposed to be 4 communication spacecrafts coming and going to the front to intercept the troops every day, but none of them came back. Equinovi realized that they must be in danger, and the military forces were already approaching. However, Equinovi did not dare to break up with Eva publicly. At this time, it was a matter of life and death. Husband and wife are birds of the same forest, and they fly away separately when disaster strikes. But Eva's personal combat power is so strong that she can kill him and leave calmly. Moreover, Eva had a hot relationship with several big bosses under Equinovi. She promised them high positions and generous salaries in the name of Nicholas. Driven by interests, those people had long forgotten who their boss was. Sufficient interests can make people crazy. If Aquinovi wanted to deal with Eva at this time, I'm afraid that his men would mutiny first. After a long time of wrangling, Aquinovi and Eva reached an agreement. Aquinovi led his personal guards 5 medium-sized warships and 10 small spaceships to withdraw to the headquarters of Aquinovi's Star Pirate group first. The remaining more than 10 medium-sized Star Pirate warships and thousands of small Star Pirate spaceships will launch a general attack on the Death Star Hotel. This attack will be the most violent and largest scale attack since the war began, regardless of any cost. Aquinovi secretly hated himself, wondering why he was bewitched by this woman. But this crazy woman will soon pay a painful price for her arrogance. It was not the first time that Aquinovi abandoned his men and fled. He was very sensitive to the upcoming danger. He felt that what he would face this time could not be described as danger, but a catastrophe. Eva was secretly happy at this time. She finally did not have to rely on selling her body to please the disgusting old fat man. It was her great contribution to take down the Death Star Hotel in this battle. Then they could quickly plunder the hotel's supplies and completely destroy the hotel. The next step was to lead the troops to annihilate the remaining troops of Aquinovi, and then she would become the queen of the Death Star region. So she began to mobilize troops and prepare to launch a general attack. Eva's Harpy mech was severely damaged. There was a shortage of supplies here, and the repairman's level was not good, so she could only use a Universal Death Corps Vulture mech given to her by Aquinovi as a gift. Aquinovi's flagship Manila medium cruiser left the fleet that surrounded the Death Star Hotel with more than a dozen warships. Eva began to quickly assemble the fleet and prepare to launch a general attack 30 kilometers away from the Star Pirates. The Death Star Hotel has launched a large number of small probes in space. These probes are mixed in the space debris and monitor the Star Pirates' every move at all times. The large-scale gathering of Star Pirates has caused the hotel to be highly vigilant. After discussing with Chen Tingting, Chief Judge Merc believed that this was the last counter-attack of the Star Pirates before the hotel's reinforcement arrived. Now, the Death Star Hotel is at a critical moment of life and death. Therefore, Chief Judge Merc quickly issued a level 1 combat alert. Chapter 254. The war begins. The pirates began to gather in large numbers and prepare to launch a general attack on the Death Star Hotel under the leadership of Eva. Judge Merc, who discovered the pirates' unusual movements through the detector, launched a level 1 combat alert. The various departments of the Death Star Hotel began to get busy. At this time, the public channel communication broadcast came from various departments of the hotel. Judge Merc's serious face appeared on everyone's personal terminal and the large screen on the wall of each department. My fellow colleagues of the Death Star Hotel, my fellow comrades of the Galactic Freedom Army, I'm Chief Judge Merc. Now, we are facing a life or death moment. The large military forces are already approaching, and they will arrive here in 1 or 2 days. The end of the Aquinovi pirates has come. But as the saying goes, a trapped beast will still fight. Now the pirates want to go all out before the reinforcement arrive. They want to use their last strength to give us the last blow, and this blow is unreserved and unscrupulous. I don't need to tell you more about the cruelty of the pirates. Once the Death Star Hotel is breached, I dare to guarantee that your fate will be more miserable than death. Therefore, in order to continue to live with dignity, and for our future, here, I hope that you can work together and fight to the death. I, Chief Judge Merc, swear to live, and I with the Death Star Hotel. Chief Judge Merc's speech aroused the enthusiasm and belief in survival in the hearts of the soldiers. They quickly became nervous and prepared for the upcoming war. Judge Merc came to his private mecha warehouse. The black modified Black Warrior mecha he usually drives is conventionally powered. Few people can threaten him within the scope of the Death Star Sea Hotel. Judge Merc has been wealthy over the years. So more than 10 years ago he spent a huge amount of money to build a private mecha with a nuclear engine and sealed it in the mecha warehouse. At that time, he planned to use it when he attacked the A-level mecha division. Now, it is time to reactivate it, and just yesterday, Xia Xingchen helped him to conduct a comprehensive inspection and maintenance of the mecha. The door of the mecha warehouse slowly opened to both sides. The lights came on, and a golden mecha with black dark patterns on it appeared in front of him. This mecha was customized at Tang Dynasty Group at a high price. Judge Merc gave it a very domineering name, Starsea Tiger King. Starsea Tiger King mecha height 5.5 meters, parameters, strength 35, agility 30, defense 35, speed 34. This is a mecha with very balanced performance. Both long-range attack and melee capabilities are very good. Its power system is the Dragon Core 3 macro-controlled nuclear fusion engine of the Tang Dynasty group. Its powerful power makes this powerful mecha even more powerful. The weapon system of the Xinghe Tiger King mecha includes an alloy longsword and a retractable Tiger Tail electric whip at the rear of the mecha. The mecha holds an alloy shield in its left hand and a huge quadruple mecha laser rifle in its right hand. These 4 weapons and equipment are all B-level mecha weapons with powerful power. In addition, there are 3 retractable light energy blades on the forearms and feet of the mecha, like the claws of a tiger. There is a double-mounted variable angle laser cannon on each shoulder of the mecha, which can provide sufficient long-range firepower. The mecha's thrusters are 2 medium-sized red light thrusters and several white light thrusters. The mecha's flying wings are retractable. The original style of the flying wings is the same as that of the Harpy mecha. Xia Xingchen felt that this design, that was popular more than 10 years ago, was a bit flashy, so he replaced it with a pair of X-shaped retractable flying wings, with a light energy sword at the front of the flying wings. Judge Merc was very satisfied with the modification. The only shortcoming was that the psychic shield was a technology that had only been applied in recent years. The Star Tiger King mecha manufactured 10 years ago was not equipped with this component, and the hotel did not have any replacement parts or materials for making psychic shields. However, the mecha was equipped with 4 light shield generators, which could make up for some regrets. Facing this battle, Xia Xingchen was in charge of the overall situation at the hotel's command center. Judge Merc kept abreast of the battlefield situation through the data link on the mecha. The pirate's spaceship had entered the 50-kilometer range of the Death Star Hotel. The hotel's defense system opened fire first. In the first round of salvos, more than a dozen pirates' small spaceships were destroyed. In addition, the hotel and the surviving 20 or so medium-sized warships of the Galaxy Freedom Army also formed a defensive formation in the berth area and fired at the pirates' spaceships. Eva ordered a quick counterattack. As a result, the sky was lit up by lasers, and pirates' spaceships and defensive laser cannons outside the hotel were constantly destroyed. Eva ordered the pirate mecha to attack. So, the remaining 4,000 mechas of the Star Pirates filed out and launched a full-scale attack on the hotel. All mechas are dispatched to meet the enemy. Xia Xingchen issued an attack order. Once the Star Pirates rushed to the front of the hotel, it would be impossible for the mechas to be dispatched. Merc, Xinghe Tiger King mecha, dispatch. Xia Xingchen, Dragon Rider Flying General mecha, dispatch. The remaining 1,800 mechas of the hotel and the Galaxy Freedom Army also entered the battlefield from the catapults and the cargo exits of each hotel. At this time, the space outside the hotel had become a sure purgatory. The lasers emitted by the mechas and spacecraft were intertwined. Many mecha divisions of both sides were destroyed by the lasers before they saw their opponents. Both sides also used space torpedoes on a large scale, but in the face of such dense lasers, it was difficult for the torpedoes to get close to the target completely. Judge Merc drove the Starsea Flying Tiger mecha and rushed to the enemy camp. His quadruple mecha laser rifle and 2 double laser cannons on his shoulders poured out lasers. 3 or 4 mechas were destroyed with each shot. Xia Xingchen slowly fixed the mecha on the wreckage of a heavy laser cannon that had just been destroyed outside the hotel and turned on the sniper mode of the flowing fire mecha rifle in his hand. He fired an orange-yellow laser every 2 seconds, and every shot was successful. He mainly dealt with the Star Pirate mechas that rushed to the front, and the floating cannons behind him were not idle either. The 3 floating cannons left the flywheel and freely searched for mechas to shoot. The battle was extremely fierce. After only 5 minutes, both sides lost nearly half of their mechas, and the Star Pirates mechas had already killed to a place very close to the hotel. The situation was very unfavorable. Judge Merc was entangled by a Death Corps Vulture mecha at this time, which was Eva's mecha. Seeing Judge Merc killing people everywhere, she took the initiative to launch an attack to entangle him. Although Judge Merc's mecha performance was superior, he could not withstand the opponent's large number of people. The pirates took turns to attack him in small groups, and Eva used her pirates as cannon fodder, and she took the opportunity to launch a sneak attack on Judge Merc. Judge Merc was a little embarrassed. He was very afraid of Eva. Through the opponent's series of technical moves, he could judge that this was an opponent of the same level as him. Looking at the pirate mecha getting closer and closer, Xia Xingchen adjusted the Liuho mecha rifle to the plasma cannon mode, with an energy output of 100%, and the plasma scattering rate adjusted to the highest. He chose a route, and pulled the trigger. Chapter 255, The Tangyang Attack. The Equinovi pirates launched a large-scale attack on the Death Star Sea Hotel. Judge Merc personally drove his nuclear-powered engine mecha, the Starseed Tiger King mecha, to fight. In just 5 minutes, both sides lost half of their mechas. Xia Xingchen adjusted the Liuho mecha rifle to the plasma cannon mode, with the plasma cannon energy output of 100% and the plasma scattering rate adjusted to the highest. He chose a route, and pulled the trigger. A 30-meter diameter orange-yellow plasma belt crossed the space. 5 seconds later, more than 50 pirate mechas and 3 small spaceships turned into space junk. There were no people on the shooting route, chosen by Xia Xingchen, and the density of pirate mechas was very high. Just one shot caused amazing casualties. Xia Xingchen activated his mental power, and the flowing fire mech rifle was stored in the portable mech space. This was a new skill he had just discovered. Even when he was sitting in the cockpit of the mech, he could use his mental power to collect objects. Moreover, since the Dragon Rider General Mech had a mental power amplification device, the distance he could collect and release objects was greater than when he was not driving the mech. The floating guns also returned to the flywheel and began to charge. Faced with such a heavy and sudden blow, the Star Pirates naturally had to adjust their formation and pounce on Xia Xingchen. This was the principle on the battlefield, and those targets that pose the greatest threat must be dealt with first. Xia Xingchen slammed the power pedal, and the red light thruster behind him instantly opened to the maximum horsepower. At this time, the 2 light energy double swords of the Dragon Rider General Mech had appeared in the hands of the Dragon Rider General Mech, and the mech turned into a red light and rushed into the Star Pirates mech group. Each sword would harvest the life of a Star Pirate mech division, and the floating guns on the back of the Dragon Rider General Mech were not idle, charging and shooting. The Dragon Rider Mech was like a hedgehog tumbling in a pile of balloons, invincible. The battle in front of the Death Star Sea Hotel was going on fiercely, and in the other direction of the hotel, the Tangyang was also ready to attack. Tangyang, retract the anchor chain, engine power 10%, thruster ignition. Heading 63, 74, 59, all personnel first level combat readiness, all shipborne weapon systems charged. Mecha divisions please stand by in the mecha. Orders were issued one after another, and the crew members on the Tangyang began their respective work in a tense and orderly manner. Engine power 80%, the battlefield has begun to send information, and the 2 sides have begun to exchange fire. Arrived at the designated starfield, engine power 10%. Thrusters turned off, and the spacecraft concealment system began to operate. Commander Xia Xingchen, how is the situation on the battlefield? Princess Kinjana seemed very anxious. Report to Princess Crossing, the Equino pirates have deployed almost all their forces. It seems that they have learned that reinforcements are coming, and are now anxious. Their attack this time is larger and more reckless than before. Xia Xingchen analyzed. Then Yingqiang, do you think we have a suitable opportunity to intervene in the battle now? Although she wanted to lead the troops to rush over immediately, Kinjana knew that she could not command a battle. In order to be responsible for the entire ship, it was not the time to act recklessly. It was more appropriate to leave the battlefield to professionals. Xia Yingqiang's brain analyzed the situation on the battlefield at a high speed, and she said, the Equino pirates have an absolute advantage in numbers, but the Death Star Hotel is more powerful. It's hard to say who will win now, but the 2 sides will enter the entanglement stage later. At that time, it depends on which side has higher morale and more courage, and which side will win. That's the best time for us to intervene. Princess Crossing nodded to show that she knew. She turned around and said to Hu Rongshan, Old Hu, I'll trouble you to attack in person this time. I'm safe on the Tangyang. You've seen these days that their combat effectiveness should not be underestimated. Now that we are here, we must do something. Hu Rongshun thought about it. Although his first task was to protect Princess Crossing's safety, rescuing the Death Star Hotel was a matter related to the overall strategic situation of the entire empire. And Princess Crossing was right. The Tangayang's ability was outstanding, enough to meet the requirements of protecting the princess's safety. Then please take care, princess. I'm leaving. Hu Rongshun clasped his hands and turned to the mecha cabin. The Tangayang approached the Death Star Hotel. Now they were only 30 kilometers away from the nearest pirate ship and 65 kilometers away from the Death Star Hotel. Ying, something is happening. Vivian held the joystick of the ship. She saw something unusual on the battlefield and quickly reminded Zhang Ying. Everyone's eyes were drawn to the largest radar screen. There were 5 large red spots and 10 small red spots, trying to evacuate the battlefield through a channel not far from the Tangayang. Zhang Ying quickly performed a series of operations on the big screen, and these 15 spots were highlighted. Distance 30, medium-sized space battleships. Number 5, small high-speed patrol ships. Number 10, speed 500 km per hour, moving towards coordinates 52, 41, 74. Optical imaging system turned on. As the optical imaging system began to work, the figures of 15 pirate battleships appeared on another screen. In the temporary command center of the Tangayang, intelligence officer Li Xiaoyang and Princess Xingchen were also nervously watching the movements on the battlefield. This is the Manila medium cruiser, which is Aquinovi's flagship. They are heading to one of the secret bases of Aquinovi's Star Pirate Group. As an intelligence officer stationed at the Death Star Hotel of the Galactic Empire Military Intelligence Department, Li Xiaoyang is well aware of the situation of the surrounding major forces. It seems that Aquinovi is going to escape. Zhang Ying quickly made a judgment, based on the information provided by Li Xiaoyang. I suggest that our Tangayang quickly intervene in the battle, sneak attack and intercept Aquinovi. What do you think? Although Zhang Ying is the commander-in-chief, she must seek everyone's opinions on matters related to the fate of all the people on the ship. Captain Van Horn was the first to express his opinion. I agree, let's do it. Such a battle opportunity is fleeting. If Aquinovi dies, the battlefield situation will be reversed quickly. And I think the Tangayang's combat power is enough to intercept them. I agree with Captain Van Horn. Once Aquinovi escapes, with his cunning character, it will cost a lot to catch him again. Intelligence Officer Major Li Xiaoyang also expressed his opinion. Star Princess Xingchen made the final decision. Let's fight together. We must not let Aquinovi, the extremely evil star pirate, go. Azimuth 56, 96, 41. Engine output power 15%. Main gun charging. Plasma gun turned on. Plasma gun charging. After the plasma gun is fired, the concealment system is released. The engine power moves forward at 80%. The main gun and secondary gun cooperate to attack, and the mecha is ready to go. Zhang Ying quickly issued a series of instructions. Chapter 256 Death of Aquinovi. 10 seconds later, the plasma cannon of the warship was fully charged, and the gunner chose the firing route, aiming the center of the sight at the medium-sized cruiser Manila. Fire. Zhang Ying gave the firing order, and a thick purple plasma gushed out from the Tangayang. In just a few seconds, Aquinovi's flagship Manila and 2 other medium-sized warships and 4 small warships were destroyed. The high temperature melted the warships into space junk, and even the steel was melted into molten iron. Aquinovi finally ended his sinful life. The surviving star pirate warships realized that they were attacked. However, before they could recover from the shock just now, dozens of lasers shot from behind. Because the rear of the space warship has a thruster, the energy shield system of the warship cannot cover here at all, and the Tangayang launched an attack at a very close distance behind them. In less than a minute, the 15 star pirate warships were completely wiped out. Poor Aquinovi fled the battlefield because he was afraid of death, but he didn't expect that his choice would accelerate his own death. Yeah, great. Princess Xingchen jumped up excitedly. Stop shooting. Weapons cooling down. Self-checking system turned on. After the plasma cannon cools down, continue to charge. Adjust the course to 85, 62, 33, and prepare to intervene in the frontal battlefield battle. Target, enemy warships, mecha troops are dispatched, and the star pirate mecha is left to you. Royal Guard, Hu Rungshan, Angry King Kong mecha attack. Tonggyang 00, Heinrich, Death Jazz mecha attack. Tonggyang 02, Yugo, Terami Warrior, attack. Tonggyang 04, Leaping, Space Knight mecha attack. Tonggyang 05, Lipang, Space Knight mecha attack. Princess Guard, Haocheng, Monkey King mecha, Somersault Cloud System attack. Except for the engineering mecha, all the mechas on the Tonggyang were deployed. The Angry King Kong mecha and Haocheng's mecha rushed to the front. The laser cannon on the Angry King Kong fired at full power, and every laser hit the target, allowing people to fully witness the true strength of the A-level mecha division. Haocheng used the Monkey King mecha and the Somersault Cloud System to perfectly cooperate. Now most of the pirates' small spaceships have not turned their heads. The laser cannon on the Somersault Cloud System is specifically aimed at hitting the thrusters of the small spaceships. After the spaceship loses power, the Monkey King mecha speeds up and flies above the cockpit of the spaceship. The alloy long stick is swung up, and the cockpits of the pirates' small spaceships are cut open one by one. Yugo followed closely behind the two, and was responsible for dealing with sporadic pirate mechas. Most of the mechas of Aquinovi's pirate group have gone to the front of the battlefield, and very few mechas are left here. They are not used to the weird moves of this mecha at all. Once they intersect with this mecha, the pirates' mecha divisions lost their lives. Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich and brothers Leaping and Lipang each took a huge mecha laser rifle and fixed the mecha on the hull. The energy box of the mecha rifle was connected to the Tonggyang with a cable. The three of them began sniping. The pirates' mecha and the thruster cockpit of the small spacecraft were the targets of their special attention. At this time, the Tonggyang had already turned, and the weapons had cooled down. Firing positions 89, 63, 52. All mechas please avoid the main gun firing line. Plasma cannon charging. Plasma scattering rate 70%. Main gun and secondary gun charging. After the plasma cannon is fired, the main gun and secondary gun will conduct a saturation attack for 100 seconds. Zhang Yingying gave the order. The reason why she wanted to increase the scattering rate of plasma was because this place was less than 50 kilometers away from the Death Star Hotel, and it was easy to accidentally damage the hotel's facilities. Moreover, the mechas of the pirates in the distance were relatively dense, and increasing the scattering area could cause more casualties. Open fire. Zhang Yingying gave the order again. A thick plasma with a diameter of nearly 30 meters streaked across the space. Wherever the purple plasma went, there were spectacular explosions. Immediately afterwards, intensive artillery fire followed the pirates. There was a high energy reaction 45 kilometers away, and 80 pirate warships and more than 70 mechas were destroyed. It should be reinforcement coming. Chen Tingting shouted excitedly in the command center. At this time, Xia Xingchen took the time to send him an identification code. Zinger, quickly enter this code into the system. This is the identification code of the Tonggyang and its carrier-based mechas. Okay, Xingchen. After a period of intense busyness, the Tonggyang and its mecha units were integrated into the local area network and joined the battle command sequence of the Death Star Hotel. Eva was already in a state of panic at this time. She had led her men to entangle Chief Judge Merc, but Xia Xingchen rushed up after firing the plasma cannon. While he was fighting with Eva's mecha, the floating cannon behind him was not idle at all, and he was elusive in clearing out the pirate mechas that were trying to support her. Soon, she was horrified to find that she had been surrounded by two mecha divisions whose strength was no worse than hers. What's more terrifying is that the mechas of these two mecha divisions are nuclear-powered mechas, while Eva was driving an ordinary version of the terrifying Corpse Vulture mecha. At this time, bad news came again. Lord Eva, the signal of Lord Aquino and his guards suddenly disappeared. They were destroyed. Military reinforcement have arrived. A pirate radar operator on the pirate command ship more than 20 kilometers away shouted on the public channel. It must be their reinforcement. You idiot. Eva's heart was filled with hatred. She even had the urge to crush this guy into a pulp. It was expected that the hotel would have reinforcement, and she also hoped for the death of Aquinovi after all. It saved her a lot of trouble, but this idiot actually shouted it out on the public channel. At this moment, the pirates, who were originally a group of scattered sand, completely lost their fighting spirit. Eva was caught in a bitter battle with Judge Merc and Xia Xingchen. The two nuclear mechas sandwiched her ordinary Death Vulture mecha, making her miserable. But what made Eva even more intolerable was that a pirate crew member who was responsible for delivering messages on the pirate command ship in the back actually shouted out the news that Aquinovi's flagship was completely wiped out, and reinforcement from the hotel had arrived on the public communication channel of Aquinovi's pirate group. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257, The Complete Destruction of the Star Pirates. These pirates were a mob. Most of them were pirates who had just been recruited. Frightened by the tyranny and greed of Aquinovi, they gathered together to attack the hotel. It was the nature of the pirates to bully the weak and fear the strong. The already tragic battle had made them uneasy, and now this sudden bad news became the last straw that broke the camel's back. The pirate ships behind the pirate team began to turn around and flee regardless of the lives of their comrades in front. The pirates who were fighting in front saw that the pirate ships behind them had left them and ran away, and they immediately lost their desire to fight. The hotel now had more than 400 mechas left. The fact that they could hold on until now showed that these people were elite. When they saw that the pirates' formation was in chaos, they all cheered up and wanted to expand the results of the battle and vent their anger. The escort fleet will be dispatched to pursue the fleeing enemy ships. Each ship will try to kill as many pirate ships as possible while ensuring its own safety. Chen Tingting saw that the situation on the battlefield had changed and immediately ordered the fleet to attack. Xingchen, leave this Death Vulture mech to me and you go help the others, said Chief Judge Merc. Okay, Lord Merc. Xia Xingchen agreed, but his hands were not slow at all. The twin laser cannons on his shoulders fired continuously, and the floating guns were divided into two groups to charge and fire in turn. This was a mobile turret. Not only that, every time the Dragon Rider Warlord mech flew over the pirate mechas that had not been destroyed, it would take the life of a pirate mech division. At this time, he didn't need to reserve his strength to kill the enemy. The flywheel on the back of the Dragon Rider Warlord mech was turned on, and 24 micro anti-mech missiles were fired at high speed. After this round of missile attacks, more than a dozen pirate mechas were destroyed in an instant. Eva was so disheartened at this moment, as the Death Vulture mecha had less than 10% of its energy left. Judge Merc drove the Starseed Tiger King mecha, with a flying longsword in his hand, and chopped down on her head. Eva's mecha turned over and dodged. From the beginning of the battle to now, she did not dare to confront Judge Merc head on. After all, the difference in the ability of the mechas was too great. At this moment, she had already risked her life, using an extremely difficult charge move. The mecha quickly came behind the Starseed Tiger King mecha. The mecha's legs stretched forward, and a pair of light energy claws grabbed the back of the Starseed Tiger King mecha. Just when she thought she was about to succeed, a yellow weapon suddenly stretched out from the tail of the Starseed Tiger King mecha and smashed down on her head. This was exactly the B-level mecha weapon, the Tiger Tail Electric Whip. Eva was not prepared at all, because she was exhausted at this time. The head of the Death Corpse Vulture mecha was smashed by the Tiger Tail Electric Whip. The strong high voltage current passed through the body of the Death Corpse Vulture into the cockpit of the mecha. Eva wailed in pain, and could not move. At this time, Chief Judge Merc turned the mecha around, cut across the waist with a long sword, and the huge light energy blade ended Eva's pain. After dealing with Eva, Chief Judge Merc did not take the opportunity to kill her, but drove the mecha directly back to the Death Star Sea Hotel to prepare to count the casualties and command the next counterattack. However, the Star Pirates had just run out of the 50-kilometer range of the Death Star Sea. They were hit head-on. More than 50 medium-sized spacecraft and more than 100 small spacecraft were scattered from all directions. The 6th Squadron has arrived. Xia Xingchen saw the identification signal of the 6th Squadron on the radar screen of the Dragon Rider War General Mecha. He quickly uploaded the identification code and communication frequency of the 6th Squadron to the local area network of the Death Star C Hotel and connected the communication channel. The command center of the Death Star Hotel saw many green dots suddenly appear on the radar screen, and the people in the hotel finally vented their suppressed emotions for many days. We won. Reinforcement are coming, kill all these damn pirates. God bless you. Someone knelt on the ground and kowtowed to pray. The entire Death Star Hotel was shrouded in all kinds of strange atmospheres. 3 hours later, the battle in the outer space of the entire Death Star Hotel ended. Only less than 100 pirate ships escaped, and almost all of these ships were injured, and there were only a few that could fly back to the pirate base intact. The battle of the Death Star Hotel finally came to an end. After several hours of emergency repairs, the hotel repaired more than 50 dock berths. The flagship of the 6th Fleet, Yuanshan, and some injured warships were moored at the berths. Other warships continued to patrol in outer space, rescue survivors, and clear space routes. Judge Merc personally greeted Major General Dodge at the dock and thanked him for his help. The Tangyang also flew from a distance. In this battle, the Tangyang played a great role. An hour later, Xia Xingchen and Huangshan secretly protected Princess Qinjana and came to the conference room of the command center. Here, the Empire's Princess of Star and the Miner's Princess Chen Tingting held hands tightly. Meet Princess Crossing. I'm Chen Xinger, the representative of the Galactic Freedom Army. I heard Xia Xingchen talk about the princess. Thank you Princess Gao Yi and your help. Chen Tingting said, neither servile nor overbearing. But when she mentioned Xia Xingchen, her eyes naturally wandered over. Qinjana read a lot from this look, because she often used this look to secretly look at Xia Xingchen. Xinger, don't say that. I come here with sincerity on behalf of the Galactic Empire's royal family and government. The problem of miners in the Galactic Empire has lasted for thousands of years, and we have no choice in our birth. I only hope that in our generation, we will work together to solve this problem and strive to leave no regrets. On the other hand, miners are also citizens of the Galactic Empire, and it is our responsibility to protect your safety. Qinjana said sincerely. After the greetings, several people sat around the round table in the conference room. The first thing they had to deal with was to deal with the mess in front of them. After more than an hour of meeting, they determined the next action plan. Judge Merc would organize all the troops and residents of the Death Star Hotel to repair the hotel's various facilities. General Dodge would ask the technicians and infantry on his spaceships to assist the hotel in repairs. At the same time, the 6th Fleet would be stationed here temporarily, with several warships divided into several assault teams. Under the leadership of the hotel's combat personnel and captured pirates, they would clear out and destroy some of the surrounding pirate bases one by one, until the reinforcement of the Death Star Hotel arrived. However, according to the current situation, even if there were only 30 medium-sized warships, it would be enough for the Death Star Hotel to dominate this starfield. Judge Merc has sent a communication spacecraft to explain the situation to the headquarters of the Universe Hotel Group and request reinforcement. As for the 6th Fleet clearing out the pirates here, this is a win-win situation. The hotel has further gotten rid of the threat of the pirates, and the 6th Fleet took this opportunity to train its troops. Chapter 258 Hotel Agreement. The Death Star Sea Hotel and the 6th Fleet of the 3rd Fleet of the Galactic Empire military happily carried out post-war reconstruction and cooperation in clearing out the remaining star pirates. At the same time, Qinjana, the princess of the Galactic Empire, and Chen Tingting, the daughter of Chen Fei, the leader of the Galactic Freedom Army, were in a tense meeting. Chen Fei was still sitting in a wheelchair and had difficulty moving. This was because, when he was seriously injured, his subordinates launched an assassination attempt on Prince Nicholas on Shianyu and Star without authorization. As a result, the angry Emperor Qinzheng of the Empire ordered the military and intelligence departments to launch a comprehensive purge of the Galactic Freedom Army. Chen Fei, who was being treated in the biological treatment cabin at a critical moment, was forced to stop treatment and transfer, which left him with serious sequelae. Chen Fei authorized Chen Tingting to be fully responsible for the negotiations with the Galactic Empire. In fact, the work of the Galactic Freedom Army for more than a year has been completely supported by Xia Xingchen alone, and the Galactic Freedom Army and major miners organizations have also recognized Xia Xingchen's ability. In the eyes of most miners, this beautiful girl with the alias Chinzinger is their princess. The two princesses got along very well. Since the arrival of Princess Crossing was a very confidential matter, the two stayed in the luxury suite of the Death Star Sea Hotel every day to discuss cooperation. Xia Xingchen was the only one present at the scene, because both women expressed their unconditional trust in him. 3 days later, the two sides signed an agreement. The full name of this agreement is Cooperation Agreement between the Galactic Empire and the Galactic Freedom Army on properly handling the miners' issues. This agreement is referred to as the Hotel Agreement by historians, and some people call it the Princess Agreement. The signing of the Hotel Agreement enabled the Galactic Empire to gain a powerful ally in the civil war against Nicholas's northern policy. The main contents of the Cooperation Agreement between the Galactic Empire and the Galactic Freedom Army on properly handling the miners' issues are as follows. First, the Miners' Resistance Organization headed by the Galactic Freedom Army temporarily stopped all hostile actions such as sabotage, assassination, and incitement to miners' riots against the Galactic Empire. Second, the Galactic Empire's military and intelligence departments temporarily stopped the arrest and suppression of members of the Miners' Resistance Organization who had given up hostile actions. Third, the Galactic Empire and the Miners' Resistance Organization led by the Galactic Freedom Army joined hands to fight against Prince Nicholas and the Northern Empire. Fourth, the Galactic Empire legislated and established a special miners management department to replace the existing miners management institutions and systems. Fifth, the personal safety, property and basic human rights of miners are protected by imperial laws. Sixth, the Galactic Empire government is responsible for establishing a sound miners assessment system and granting imperial citizenship to miners who have made outstanding contributions to law abiding. Seventh, miners organizations such as the Galactic Freedom Army are responsible for propaganda and guidance of miners and supervision of the Galactic Empire's miners management institutions. Seventh, Princess Star directly participates in the supervision of miners management institutions on behalf of the Galactic Empire royal family. 8th, the Ministry of the Interior of the Galactic Empire government will liquidate those miners managers and interstellar human traffickers who cruelly killed and abused miners, and severely punish them according to law. In the past few hundred years, there have been similar agreements between the Galactic Empire government and miners organizations, but these agreements have died due to congenital deficiencies. Compared with the previous agreements, the Hotel Agreement signed by both parties has several outstanding highlights. First, the royal princess personally came forward to guarantee the royal reputation. In the past, it was the government departments or intelligence departments of the empire that contacted and signed the agreement with the miners' organizations. These departments did not have a strong voice and there were frequent changes in their orders, which led to the previous agreements being torn up many times. This time, the royal family not only came forward to sign the agreement, but also took the initiative to assume the responsibility of supervising the implementation of the agreement, which made the miners very confident in the implementation of the agreement. The second is that this agreement is based on equality between the two parties. There is a clear division of rights and obligations between the Galactic Empire government and the miners. In contrast, in previous agreements, the Galactic Empire always put itself in the position of ruler due to its strong military strength, and most of the agreements were unilateral constraints and restrictions on the miners. This unequal and unfair agreement certainly could not be accepted by the miners. The third is that the empire legislates to ensure that the rights and interests of the miners are protected, which avoids the frequent changes in the empire's orders, and has a legal basis for protecting the rights and interests of the miners. The most important point is that the Galactic Empire government has come forward to establish a special miners management agency. The existing miners management institutions are very chaotic. Some planets are directly managed by the Galactic Empire government, and some are managed by the military, such as Lubenstar. The miners under the direct management of the government have a relatively guaranteed life, and the miners under the management of the military have even better living conditions, which are not much different from the citizens of the Galactic Empire. However, the miners under the management of large enterprises and large interstellar mine owners, such as Xia Xingchen on Manastar, are simply slaves. The miners' managers do not treat them as human beings at all, and can deprive the miners of their lives and property at will, and buy and sell the miners as goods. In addition, some miners are under the control of star pirates and interstellar slave owners. Their lives can be described as miserable. They work more than 10 hours a day, have no personal freedom, and are not well fed or clothed. Some remote planets even have slave owners who treat miners as prey for hunting. Under the existing chaotic miners management system, the rights and interests of miners are not guaranteed at all, and their lives are becoming more and more difficult. They regard the Galactic Empire as the culprit of this situation. Even if the Galactic Empire promulgated some policies and decrees that were beneficial to the miners, it would be difficult to pass them down through these miner managers, and the miners could not feel the goodwill of the Galactic Empire at all. The Galactic Empire directly established a miner management agency directly managed by the government and supervised by the Emperor. Although this would affect the vested interests of many classes, the war was about to start, and dealing with Mechas' Northern Empire was the most important thing. Therefore, many things that usually require wrangling and compromise can now be directly implemented in the simplest and crudest way. In this way, with the joint efforts of the two princesses, the history of the Galactic Empire opened a new chapter. Chapter 259 Return to Xia Star. After several days of intense and friendly negotiations, Princess Xingchen and Xia, the representative of the Miners' Resistance Organization, signed the cooperation agreement between the Galactic Empire and the Galactic Freedom Army on properly handling the miners' issues. The signing of this agreement has enabled the Galactic Empire to take a solid step towards properly solving the miners' issues. Through these days of getting along, Xingchen and Xia talk about everything like sisters. However, since the agreement has been reached, it is time to leave. Time waits for no one. Xingchen must go back to let the Emperor Qin sign the order, and the cabinet will issue the order and notify the entire Galactic Empire. There are still many tedious tasks to do, and Xia also needs to integrate the power of the Galactic Freedom Army. 2 days later, Xingchen was ready to set off to return to Xia Star. Xia was reluctant to leave, especially to separate from Xia Xingchen again. She felt very uncomfortable, but she knew that now was not the time for love. Before leaving, she found Xia Xingchen alone and asked Xia Xingchen to bring the Ice Queen mecha and reassemble the mecha when there were suitable parts. Xia Xingchen agreed, and Xia sent someone to deliver the damaged Ice Queen mecha to the Tangyang. Princess Xingchen also found Vice Admiral Dodge and asked him to borrow the Tangyang medium cruiser. General Dodge was flattered. Generally speaking, when the royal family borrows warships and personnel from local fleets, the war merits are still considered to belong to the fleet where the warships are located, and it is not bad for any general to have a good relationship with the royal family. He took the initiative to report the matter to General von Klausch, who thought about it and agreed. But he made a point that the secondment is okay, but the affiliation must not be transferred to the royal fleet. Xia Xingchen is General von Klausch's baby, and Captain Van Horn is also his capable general. The day of departure finally arrived, and the Tangyang left the Death Star Sea Hotel. Judge Merck, Major General Dodge and Xia personally came to the dock to see the Tangyang off. Since the entire 3rd Fleet and the 6th Squadron had been dispatched to suppress the remaining pirates in recent days, the Galaxy Freedom Army also dispatched a large number of personnel to seize several large pirate bases as their secret bases, which was also allowed by the Princess Star. Natalia finally woke up. She had been in a coma for nearly 10 days and had been relying on nutrient solution injections to maintain her life. At this time, her body was very weak, and she struggled to sit up. "You're awake, Sister Natalia." Xia, who was guarding at the side, ran over immediately. Ting, what's the situation now? Have the pirates retreated? Don't worry, Sister Natalia, it was Xia Xingchen who saved you. Now the Equinovi pirates have been completely wiped out. Nearly 100 warships of the 3rd Fleet of the Galaxy arrived in time and wiped out the pirates. Our Galaxy Freedom Army has also reached a cooperation agreement with Princess Crossing. That's great, Ting. Oh, There is one more thing. Sister Natalia, your mecha, Ice Queen, was seriously damaged in the battle. There are more than a dozen wounds on the body, and the arms and shoulder components of the entire mecha are completely damaged. Xia Xingchen took the mecha away. He will send someone to bring a new mecha after he finds the right parts. Xia Xingchen. This name is very familiar. I can't remember it. Oh, my headache is killing me. Thinking of this, Natalia groaned in pain again. Could it be? Is there any intersection between Sister Natalia and Xingchen? Should they meet? Chen Tingting thought to herself. The Tangyang was traveling at the fastest speed on the way back to Xia Star. Captain Van Horn asked for the opinion of Mr. Zuo Lehang. Mr. Zuo said that he was willing to go to Xia Star with the Tangyang, and even proposed to go to the Imperial Military Command College to give students a few mecha design classes to make full use of his remaining heat. The stupid behavior of the Northern Empire, especially the attempt to kidnap his granddaughter in an attempt to force Mr. Zuo to submit, completely angered the old man. Along the way, the members of the Tangyang were still tortured to death by the Krill training. The mecha maintenance technicians practiced disassembly and assembly with one mecha each, while Xia Xingchen followed Mr. Zuo and Zuo King to modify other mechas on the Tangyang. Mr. Zuo's rich experience made Xia Xingchen feel that he had gained a lot, and the specific operations of these modifications were carried out by Miss Zuo King. This was Mr. Zuo's special requirement for her, mainly to exercise her hands-on ability. Princess Xingchen wanted to spend some time alone with Xia Xingchen, but she and Zhang Yingying were working together in the captain's room to discuss the details of the hotel agreement and formulate policies to ensure the implementation of the agreement. 10 days passed in a flash, and the Tangyang finally returned to the capital Starfield. On the busiest shipping route of the Galactic Empire, the Tangyang slowly approached Xia Star and finally slowly docked at the berth dedicated to the Royal Fleet at the Canal Space Station. The berth they were in was a berth dedicated to the Royal Family ships. Parked in the adjacent berth of the Tangyang was the heavy space cruiser, the First Emperor. The First Emperor was the ship of the Emperor of the Galactic Empire. The members of the Tangyang felt very honored to be able to dock with it. Xingchen boarded the royal shuttle under the protection of Hu Rangshan and 10 royal guards. They were going to Xia Star to meet Emperor Xia. The members of the Tangyang got a short vacation. They had to stand by here until the next order was issued. Xia Xingchen, Zuo Leo and Zuo King took a space shuttle to Xianwei 8, which is the industrial zone of Xia Star region and the production base of Mecha. Xia Xingchen placed a large number of expedited orders at the processing plant here, and spent a whole day in the second-hand parts market here. Especially with Zuo Leo present, he had a very sharp eye. They found a lot of good things, and returned to the spacecraft with satisfaction. Princess Xingchen returned to the palace, and visited her mother first. In the past month, her mother has basically walked out of the grief of losing her loved ones. Although she is often depressed, and even secretly sheds tears, at least she will not seek death. Then, she went to see her brother, Emperor Xia of the Empire, and explained the various experiences of her contact with the Galaxy Freedom Army this time, including the battle she experienced. Emperor Xia was shocked by his sister's experience. However, when he saw the cooperation agreement between the Galactic Empire and the Galactic Freedom Army on proper handling of minors issues that Xingchen took out, his eyes suddenly lit up. Because of the importance of the matter, Emperor Xia convened an emergency cabinet meeting overnight. The meeting was attended by Qin Yuanshan, the Grand Elder of the Imperial Elders Council, Unkei, the Prime Minister of the Empire, De Yunfei, the Minister of the Interior of the Empire, Yao Qingchen, the Minister of Finance of the Empire, Feng Bismarck, the Grand Marshal of the Imperial Army, and Zhang Chenglong, the 5-star General of the Imperial General Staff. Also present were the Empire Star Princess Xingchen and Moon Princess Qinfangja. Chapter 260, On Politics and Mining. Princess Xingchen of the Stars returned to Xia Star. She took out the hotel agreement, and the eyes of Emperor Xia of the Empire lit up. He summoned his important ministers overnight to discuss the matter. Princess Xingchen introduced in detail to the ministers, present what happened during her trip and the details of the negotiations with Chen Tingting, and explained to everyone some policies formulated to ensure the conclusion of the agreement. Everyone listened carefully to Princess Kin's introduction, and then everyone held a reader in their hands and looked at the contents carefully. The conference room suddenly fell silent. Seeing the silence of the whole room, Emperor Qin Zhi was very anxious. But he didn't dare to speak out for fear of interrupting people's thoughts. After a long time, Prime Minister NK of the Empire suddenly stood up and saluted Princess Kinjana of the Stars, who was also sitting at the table. Kinjana was frightened and quickly stood up to return the greeting. "Old man, what are you doing? You really embarrass me." The old Prime Minister NK then sat down again and said, "The princess has made an unprecedented contribution on this trip. This hotel agreement reflects Princess Crossing's meticulous mind and far-sighted political vision. As long as we strictly implement this agreement, we will completely solve the miners' problem that has plagued the empire for hundreds of years. Your Majesty and the princess will surely leave a strong mark in the history of the empire." "Oh, Prime Minister, I would like to hear more about it," the Emperor Qin Zhi asked. Old Prime Minister NK took a sip of water, cleared his throat, and said, "It's a long story. It probably starts with the origin of the miner system. The earliest miners came from prisoners of war. Thousands of years ago, during the Warring States period in the universe, in order to punish the huge number of captives and the residents of those planets who resisted fiercely, the miner system came into being. These prisoners of war and resistors were concentrated and sent to mining planets and became the first batch of miners. In that era, the miner system was of great benefit to the rulers. First, the miners provided a large amount of cheap labor. They were not citizens of the empire, and the empire did not have to spend too much money to feed them. On the contrary, the miners had to work hard to exchange for a bite of food. They are simply inexpensive cash cows, which is why the vested interests have been unwilling to abolish the miner system for nearly 1,000 years, and the contradictions between the miners and the Galactic Empire have become increasingly intensified. Second, the miner system effectively solved the problem of prisoners of war. Such a large number of prisoners of war could not be killed, and the waste utilization through the miner policy also deterred other resistors. If miners do not want to become slaves, the wisest choice is to surrender actively. Third, miners are also a kind of asset, which is used as a reward for military merits to generals, or as materials to exchange strategic materials with some big families. Later, after the war, there were no new prisoners of war, so those criminals and bankrupts became a new source of miners. However, the number of miners from this source was not large, and it could not meet the needs of those forces for miners, so these people had crooked ideas. They used star pirates, human traffickers, etc. to abduct people from remote planets in those marginal star regions, and send them to the miner planets to do hard labor, becoming a new source of miners. With the development of the times, nearly 1,000 years have passed, and the descendants of miners have experienced 10 or 8 generations of reproduction. There have been atonement. Even if their ancestors committed great sins, their sins have long been atonement. Miners have a strong desire to become citizens of the empire, to obtain legal protection and human dignity. However, the vested interests of the miners' system did not want this to happen. On the contrary, they increasingly exploited and oppressed the miners. Over the past 1,000 years, some policies and regulations formulated by the empire to ease the conflicts between miners and citizens have become meaningless due to the obstruction of these people. They are both referees and contestants, so how can it be fair? As a result, the miners' reactions became more and more intense, and eventually formed a miners' resistance organization that used violence to resist the brutal rule. In 1528, more than 500 years ago, on a border mining planet called Daystar in the Eastern Administrative Region, a miner named Xia Xingchen and a miner named Wukuan could not bear the oppression. They organized the miners to launch a riot, killed the mine owner who persecuted them, and formed the Galactic Freedom Army. Xia Xingchen was good at strategy, and Wukuan was a self-taught air-level mecha master. Under their leadership, the concept proposed by the Galactic Freedom Army was warmly welcomed by the oppressed miners, and the miners enthusiastically joined the Galactic Freedom Army. They quickly liberated the miners of the entire Daystar, and then the miners' riot spread to most of the Eastern Administrative Region, shaking the entire Galactic Empire. So the Empire's intelligence department and the military intervened urgently. After more than 10 years of fierce fighting, they finally eliminated the Galactic Freedom Army at that time. Chennai and Wukuan both died in the battle. Although the uprising of the Galaxy Freedom Army was extinguished at that time, the fire had already been left in people's hearts. Although Chennai died in the war, his son escaped, wandered around the Milky Way, and rebuilt the Galaxy Freedom Army. The new Galaxy Freedom Army has a wider range of influence and acts more covertly and strangely. Every year, our Galaxy Empire government has to spend a lot of effort to clean up the mess left by the Galaxy Freedom Army. Especially in recent years, those mine owners and human traffickers have become more arrogant, resulting in more and more fierce resistance from the miners. The assassination of Nicholas is a signal, a very dangerous signal, which is a manifestation of the serious intensification of the contradictions between the two sides. Fortunately, Nicholas is cruel by nature and does not regard the miners as human beings, which has led to his loss of a powerful ally. Princess Crossing has gained the trust of the Galaxy Freedom Army and has formulated a package of solutions to the miners' problems. Not only has it solved our worries in the upcoming war, but it has also laid a good foundation for the long-term stability of the Empire in the future. So, the princess is worthy of this gift from the old man. Everyone present applauded in agreement. At this time, Elder Kinyuanshan of the Royal Elders Council also stood up and said, Princess Crossing's trip has brought honor to our royal family. Our royal family will play a key role in this matter. This is also our unshakable responsibility as a royal family. On behalf of the Royal Elders Council, I would like to express our full support for the hotel agreement and will strictly supervise its implementation. Chapter 261, Argument for the Miners. Emperor Xia of the Galactic Empire urgently convened a cabinet meeting in the conference room of the Imperial Palace to discuss the hotel agreement signed by Princess Xia and Xia Xingchen, the plenipotentiary representative of the Galactic Freedom Army. At the meeting, the old Prime Minister N.K. took the lead in expressing his support for the hotel agreement and analyzed the ins and outs of the miners' problem in detail. Later, Kinyuanshan, the Great Elder of the Imperial Elders Council, also expressed the support of the Imperial family for this matter. Master Day, Master Yao, what do you two think? Emperor Xia saw that the Minister of the Interior and the Minister of Finance were still thinking about something, so he asked. Dai Yunfei, the Imperial Minister of the Interior, organized his words and said, the idea of the hotel agreement is very good, but it is conceivable that there will be great resistance, including those vested interests mentioned by Lord N.K. These people come from a wide range of sources and have great power. Those large mine owners and interstellar consortiums may not cooperate and may even have excessive reactions. Next, let me talk about my opinion. I think our current work focus is to fully guarantee the implementation of this system. First of all, the top priority is public opinion propaganda. We should broadcast a large number of feature films on the miner system in major media, deeply analyze the irrationality of this system, and broadcast documentaries that reflect the miserable lives of miners. The people are willing to sympathize with the weak. I believe that, if the propaganda work is done well, the people will spontaneously resist the interstellar consortiums and large mine owners who exploit and enslave the miners. Moreover, only by breaking the gap in the hearts of the people can the miners receive truly equal treatment. Second, legislation must be made. Once the Empire has made legislation, those stubborn elements who refuse to implement it will be considered to have violated the Empire's laws and directly confronted the Empire. Now is a wartime period, and those who have such behavior will be resolutely raided and their property confiscated. Unfortunately, it is a wartime period, otherwise it would be really difficult to implement this policy. Third, professional talents must be trained. It is most appropriate to select relevant talents from military academy students who sympathize with the miners for training. They are young, have a sense of justice, and are not afraid of hardships and power. The most important point is that the selected talents must not have conflicts of interest with those vested interests, so as to ensure the fairness of the Miners Management Agency. Fourth, the Miners Management Agency must have relevant military support. Our intelligence departments and the Ministry of the Interior must also fully intervene and provide them with military and intelligence support. Of course, this force is not aimed at the miners, but at those vested interests. In addition, I suggest that the royal family come forward to negotiate with those large interstellar groups, and even give them some compensation. As long as someone sets an example, we can use both kindness and force, and we will see initial results in about half a year. We strive to fully resolve this issue before the war begins. At this time, General von Bismarck, the Grand Marshal of the Galactic Empire Army, also added, "Our imperial military has had a good relationship with the miners for many years. Many excellent soldiers come from the miners, and the army has always provided shelter to the miners under our management. Therefore, our imperial military is very supportive of the hotel agreement. Here, our military expresses its firm and full support, and cooperates with the intelligence department to provide armed protection to the miners' management agency." Okay, I feel relieved with your statements. Emperor Qin nodded. Lord Yao, tell me. His Majesty the Emperor turned and looked at his Minister of Finance. Xia Xingchen, the Minister of Finance of the Empire, smiled bitterly and said, "Your Majesty, in the long run, the liberation of the miners can save the Empire a lot of military expenses. At the same time, the improvement of the living standards of the miners can also bring about an increase in consumption levels and promote the development of our imperial economy. But for now, we still have to pay a large sum of money for this plan. First of all, the establishment of miner management agencies and the training of personnel will consume considerable resources. On average, each mining planet must add at least 2,000 managers, which is a huge expense. Second, the resistance of those so-called vested interests. They will make some trouble to some extent, and it is very likely that they will have some crooked ideas in terms of taxation, etc., and fiscal revenue will be reduced a lot. This will trouble Lord Day for his strong support. Third, we will go to talk to those large interstellar consortiums. In exchange for their support, we will also have to give up some interests, which will reduce fiscal revenue. However, we are now in the preparation period before the war, and money is needed everywhere. The funds in those places cannot be cut, so I want to apply for special financial appropriations. As the Minister of Finance, it seems very glorious, but in fact it is a very miserable position. Every day, you have to rack your brains to get money, because various departments are asking for money, and this money is limited. How to increase revenue, and how to save money. I don't know how many ministers of finance are worried to death. Emperor Qin thought for a while and said, Lord Yao, this year's Imperial Emperor special budget has not been used, right? How much money is there now? Is it enough to pay for the establishment of the mine management agency and personnel training? The Imperial Emperor special budget is a large special appropriation outside the fiscal budget every year. It is generally used for emergencies and places that are in urgent need of money in that year. If it is not used this year, it will be specially accumulated to the next fiscal year. Your Majesty, please wait a moment. Xia Xingchen said, taking out the portable reader, connecting it to the personal terminal, calculating for a few minutes, and then happily said, Your Majesty, I calculated that the operation of the Empire's finances has been relatively healthy in recent years, so the late Emperor has not used the special budget of the Empire for a total of 8 years. In addition to this year's budget, there should be a lot of surplus to pay for this expense. That's it, Lord Yao, go back and draft a plan and budget application immediately. All this money will be allocated. It must be used for a special purpose. The problem of the miners must be thoroughly implemented and solved. Emperor Qin said decisively. Yes, Your Majesty. The ministers echoed. Galaxy Empire, Xia Star, Imperial Palace Conference Room. It was already very dark at this time, but the people in the conference room were full of energy. Here, the Emperor Qin of the Empire was holding an emergency cabinet meeting to discuss the hotel agreement signed by Princess Crossing in person to thoroughly solve the problem of the miners. In order to thoroughly solve the problem of the miners. Chapter 260 To the Princess's insistence. They quickly reached a consensus to fully support and guarantee the implementation of the hotel agreement. Emperor Qin was about to adjourn the meeting when the old Prime Minister of the Empire, Lord Nkei, spoke up. Your Majesty, since we are now fully staffed, why don't we continue the meeting? There are 2 important matters that need to be resolved. Lord Nkei, we don't mind, but we are worried that your body will not be able to support it. The old prime minister was already 90 years old, and Emperor Qin Zhi's concerns were not unreasonable. It's okay. I'm a man with a mental strength level of 30, so I'm still strong. What's more, I'm old and I sleep less, so it's okay to sleep less. Emperor Qin Zhi bowed slightly. Thank you for your hard work, Lord NK. Since you have this wish, let's continue the meeting. Okay, the first thing I want to say is the issue of the Empire's civilian armed forces. The war is about to start, and there are many local people of insight, such as the local mining teams, or the guards of large companies such as the Galaxy Hotel Group fleet, as well as interstellar adventurer organizations, large mercenary groups, etc., who are willing to help the Galactic Empire government resist foreign enemies together. Of course, their participation is also a military merit, and they can participate in the distribution of spoils and territories after the war with the military industry they have obtained. This is a very huge force. In theory, the scale of all the civilian armed forces in the Galactic Empire is no less than that of the military. However, due to the uneven level of civilian armed forces, rashly incorporating them into the command of the army will cause serious consequences of command confusion. On the one hand, the civilian armed forces have not undergone rigorous training and have limited execution capabilities on the battlefield, which is very fatal in large-scale space fleet battles. On the other hand, the generals do not have enough time to understand the true combat effectiveness of these civilian armed forces, and they are unable to effectively dispatch them. However, if these civilian armed forces are left alone, it is likely to cause hidden dangers to security, and may even interfere with the normal operations of the military. However, the Galactic Empire still has a way to assemble these civilian armed forces. That is, members of the royal family will come forward to establish a special command center, recruit these civilian armed forces for unified management and command, and perform simple tasks such as transporting materials, escorting, patrolling, and assisting in defense. Prime Minister NK continued, originally, Prince Qin Zhi would be the most suitable person to do this. However, Prince Qin Zhi is currently undergoing the Nirvana trial on Phoenix Star, so we have to choose someone else. Princess Qin, who had been silent, stood up, bowed slightly, and said to the people sitting there, Your Majesty, Grandpa NK, and all the adults, leave the matter of contacting the local armed forces to me and Jaina. Absolutely not, sister. It's wartime now, and even within the borders of our empire, it's full of crises and too dangerous. In addition, the Queen Mother also needs your care. Your Majesty, the Queen Mother has walked out of the haze of grief, and she also hopes that we can help my father to avenge as soon as possible. Besides, I'm the daughter of the Qin family. How could I be afraid of danger and difficulties? Among all the princesses in our Galactic Empire, is there a coward? Princess Qin said decisively, and she burst out with an indomitable momentum. This Emperor Qin Zhi was speechless after being choked by Princess Yu's words. Qin was right. The Qin family was able to break out of the siege of the warring states period thousands of years ago, which was inseparable from the female members of the Qin family. These female members of the Qin family can be said to be heroes, and women are as good as men. In addition to the princess who led the knights to save the family from danger mentioned earlier, there is also a princess who died for love. In addition, among the female members of the Qin family, there are female captains, female S-class mecha masters, female interior ministers, female military chiefs of staff, etc. This is completely different from the current situation in other large families, where women are completely accessories. Therefore, the female members of the Qin family have a very high status and voice in the royal family. Princess Qin also stood up. Sister, you are right. We two sisters are among the best in the Royal Military Academy. We have done similar work before. Moreover, I suggest that we two sisters be responsible for contacting and integrating private armed forces. At the same time, we two sisters can also be responsible for supervising the implementation of the hotel agreement. This can also reduce the pressure on the military. Emperor Qin Zhi was really undecided and had to ask for help from others. What do you think? I think what the princess said makes a lot of sense. I agree with the two princesses. NK took the lead in expressing his opinion. There is no coward among the children of my Qin family, and my daughters are no less than men. As a royal family, this is our kin family's unshakable responsibility. Qin Yuanshan, the great elder of the royal family, said. Dai Yunfei, the Minister of the Interior of the Empire, also stood up to express his support. The intelligence department will fully support the two princesses. Marshal von Bismarck also expressed the military's support for the two princesses. Seeing this, the Emperor Qin Zhi could only make concessions and agree to the plan of the two princesses. Prime Minister Nkei took a sip of water and spoke again. Let me talk about the second thing. This matter is related to your majesty. Your majesty has been on the throne for nearly 2 months. In order to continue the royal bloodline, your majesty must prepare for the wedding, and the royal bloodline should be left as soon as possible. Lord Nkei is right. This is a top priority. Your majesty must treat this matter as a very urgent matter. Qin Yuanshan also said immediately. I'm still young. Don't be so anxious. Qin Zhi was a little helpless. He is 25 years old this year. In this era, when the average age of humans is about 150 years old, it is indeed too early to get married at this age. After all, if things go wrong, you will be tied to marriage for hundreds of years. Your Majesty, you are the ruler of the empire. This is not your business alone. It is a major event related to the stability of the empire and the continuation of the royal bloodline, and it cannot be sloppy at all. Remember, you are not just representing yourself now, you must take on this responsibility. Elder Qin Yuanshan said solemnly. Chapter 263 The Emperor's Marriage. The scene was a bit awkward at this time. Although he was still reluctant in his heart, as the Emperor of the Empire, he could not publicly refute the Great Elder Qin Yuanshan on this matter. After all, the Great Elder represented the opinions of the entire royal family. At this time, Nkei smiled first. Your Majesty, you don't have to worry. We old guys are all experienced people, and we have all been young. You are a young man, eager to pursue your own love. We understand this. However, love is a 3-minute heat, and it will be over after it passes. What you have to do now is to find an outstanding woman who can be the mother of the world and set an example for the people of the world. As for if you meet a woman you like in the future, you can take a concubine or find a lover. Emperor Qin Zhi was speechless by Prime Minister Nkei's words. Bold. Old man, how dare you instigate His Majesty the Emperor to do such a thing? It's simply nonsense. Qin Yuanshan was so angry that his beard stood up. Come on, stop being so righteous. Even if I don't tell you, the imperial elders will do the same. I have served 3 emperors of the empire, and have seen everything. Qin Yuanshan was choked by Prime Minister Nkei's words and couldn't speak. Everyone covered their mouths and laughed. If Lord Nkei wanted to play a trick on someone, no one in the court, including the emperor, could do anything to him. Then let's decide it. As February and March are approaching, there will be a series of commemorative activities. At that time, we can find more young talents to hold a few dances, and maybe you will meet a woman that will make your heart beat. Old Qin, what do you think? I agree to do this. But your Majesty must be cautious in choosing a spouse, and don't listen to the nonsense of that shameless old man. Everyone laughed again, except for the emperor who looked bitter. The emergency cabinet meeting ended. It was already dawn, and the two princesses did not rest and began to prepare for the preparations for the knights. The two princesses will recruit local armed forces in the name of the Princess Knights. But first, they must establish the Knights General Staff headquarters in the core armed forces, and then they can recruit the armed forces in various places. In order to ensure the safety of the two princesses, the Imperial Emperor Qin Zhi was also very attentive. He gave his own ship, the Emperor Qin Shi Huang, a heavy space cruiser, to Princess Yukin Fanger as her flagship, and also equipped her with 4 heavy mecha cruisers and a medium-sized space carrier. The one assigned to Qin Jaina was the newly commissioned Song-class heavy space cruiser Linen, which will be used as the flagship of Princess Crossing. The royal fleet also sent 4 medium-sized mecha cruisers and a medium-sized space carrier. In addition, Tangyang was also temporarily incorporated into the escort fleet of Princess Crossing as a frigate of Princess Crossing. Originally, Qin Jaina wanted to choose Tangyang as her flagship, but the space inside the Tangyang was limited, so she had to give up. In addition, the establishment of the Knights requires a large number of military command talents, who come from the major military academies of the Galactic Empire and the Imperial General Staff. The Imperial General Staff has gathered a large number of talented and capable young officers, but they rarely have the opportunity to stand alone in peacetime. Now, the opportunity has come. 5-star Admiral Zhang Chenglong of the Imperial General Staff has personally selected 60 outstanding combat staff officers and assigned them to the 2 princesses. Some of the best of these combat staff officers will enter the staff of the Princess Knights, and others will be assigned to the private armed forces that have been incorporated as liaison officers. In addition, the Royal Fleet has started a new round of talent selection in major military academies in the name of forming a Princess Guard. These people will also be assigned to private armed forces as instructors for mecha or warship driving. The members of the Tangyang have their short vacation. Mr. Zhuo Lehong has received an invitation from the Imperial Military Command Academy and will give 5 mecha design classes to the students of the academy within a week. Xia Xingchen took the members of their Tangyang 01 mecha team to land on Xianyuan Star on a space shuttle. He will lead his comrades to visit the Imperial Military Command Academy in the place where he used to live. Captain Gardel of the infantry did not go to the nightclub for the first time, but followed the 01st Mech squad to visit the Imperial Military Command Academy. Since the fight on Watchstar, Gardel has almost become a follower of Xia Xingchen and others, and they often train together. He will not miss this opportunity to get closer to Xia Xingchen. Zhang Yingying and Vivian returned to their homes to visit their relatives. The space shuttle landed at the passenger station in the military zone. The magnificent buildings and beautiful natural scenery on Xianyuan Star shocked the brothers Liping and Lipang, B. Mormon and Gardel, who came here for the first time. Outside the passenger station, a man dressed as a butler in his 40s had already been waiting there. "Hello, Mr. Xia Xingchen, I'm Bill. Miss Yao Yi sent me to meet you. Please get in the car. I will serve you all your trips on Xianyuan Star." As he said, he pointed to the large luxury RV next to him. "Thank you, Mr. Bill," Xia Xingchen said, and took a few comrades to the RV. The RV is fully equipped with a large bed, sofa, and bar. Several people were tasting fine wine and chatting. An hour later, the car arrived at the 1524 Mecha Club. After the car stopped, Bill came forward and opened the door. "Everyone, please get off the car. Your room has been booked. It is in the presidential suite area of the 1524 Mecha Club." "What is this place? Mecha Club? What a strange name," Captain Jardel asked in confusion. "This is also my business. 2 years ago, my roommates and I co-founded the 1524 Mecha Club. It was a small mecha repair shop. 1524 was a dormitory number. With our joint efforts, coupled with the painstaking management of our dormitory's business genius Hans Grandet, the 1524 Mecha Club has now developed into a commercial complex that integrates mecha sales, design, repair, and maintenance, as well as leisure, catering, entertainment and accommodation." Xia Xingchen introduced. "The Miss Yao Yi that Bill mentioned just now is Hans Grandet's girlfriend, and one of our shareholders. We are very busy now, and have no time to take care of the business, so we handed the club over to her to run. She is also a business genius and the daughter of the Imperial Finance Minister." "Captain, I didn't realize that you are a small rich man," Liping said jokingly. "In this way, I will cover all your expenses in Xianyuan Star. Even if you don't have other abilities, you can still have no problem eating and drinking with your brothers," Xia Xingchen said. "Then it's settled. Long live the captain." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264 Dinner. The group walked into the lobby decorated with a sense of technology and took the elevator to the top floor of the newly built hotel. Yao Yi specially arranged 2 presidential suites, and each of them had a separate room. After putting away the luggage, Bill said to the group, "Mr. Xia Xingchen, you can move freely during the pickup time. I will pick you up at 5 p.m. Mr. Dayren will host a banquet for you at Zizhuxun. This is my contact number. If you want to go out, you can call us at any time. I will be there at any time. Xia Xingchen nodded to express his gratitude. Mr. Bill, you should go to rest first. My friends and I will go to the Mecha maintenance center later. We will not go out. We will meet in the lobby at 5 p.m. Okay, Mr. Xia, I wish you a good time. After saying goodbye to Bill, the group went downstairs and wandered around the 1524 Mecha Club. They visited the maintenance workshop and the Mecha exhibition hall. Several people also took test rides on several new mechas launched by Tang Dynasty Group with great interest. In the mecha simulation area, they also played online on the simulator. Jaddle, Bimoan, and the Lee brothers teamed up to fight Xia Xingchen, but they were beaten badly. Time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye it was 5 o'clock, and several people came to the lobby of the 1524 Mecha Club. After they saw Bill, they got on the RV again, and drove east for more than an hour. They came to a very special villa area. This is the family area of the Cultural University of the capital of the Galactic Empire, and it is also a garden-style villa area. The car stopped at the door of a large villa, and there were 3 big characters on the horizontal plaque in front of the door. Xia. At this time, there were already 3 people waiting at the door, a cold and beautiful man wearing an army uniform and holding the rank of colonel, a petite beauty with very white skin, and a beautiful woman with a scholarly temperament. This man was Daren, the head of the Galactic Empire Military Strategic Intelligence Bureau, and the white-skinned beauty was Hans Grandet's girlfriend Yaoyi, and the other woman was Daren's fiancée Ji Yunsu. Xia Xingchen walked up and gave Daren a big hug. Then, he introduced the 3 people in front of him to his comrades. This is Colonel Daren from the Imperial Intelligence Department, my roommate, and a very powerful intelligence officer. Several people saluted Daren. Among them, Daren had the highest military rank. This is Ms. Yaoyi, the current CEO of the 1524 Mecha Club. She is also the girlfriend of my good brother Hans, and the daughter of the Minister of Finance of our Galactic Empire. Yaoyi bowed slightly and saluted, and everyone hurriedly returned the salute. This beautiful lady is also the hostess here, Ms. Ji Yunsu. She is a famous talented woman, and also a leader in the cultural circle of our Galactic Empire, the granddaughter of Mr. Ji. This Ms. Ji is Daren's girlfriend. Ji Yunsu also bowed and saluted. Her every move was so natural, like a breeze, bringing people a beautiful feeling like a spring breeze. At this time, Daren said, Xingchen, let me correct one thing. Yunsu is not only my girlfriend now, but also my fiancée. We are engaged. Haha, I saw that your relationship was very special when I first met Yunsu. Congratulations. Xia Xingchen laughed, and Ji Yunsu blushed immediately. Okay, the journey is long, you must be hungry, hurry up and take your seats. Daren said. Today's dinner was carefully prepared, and the dining place was arranged in a huge glass greenhouse. There were pavilions, bridges and flowing water in the greenhouse, and there were also a lot of purple bamboos, which was a unique taste. In the middle of the greenhouse was a wooden pavilion, and the ground underfoot was also wooden, but a huge dining table and chairs were made of bamboo. The 9 of them sat around the dining table, and the servants brought over one after another exquisite dishes. It is said that they were carefully cooked by chefs from Earth according to Earth recipes thousands of years ago. This table full of delicious food is irresistible. However, because there were 2 ladies here, they were all very uncomfortable eating. Ji Yunsu was a very sensible girl. She saw the embarrassment of several people, so she said goodbye to Yaoyi after more than 10 minutes of the meal. After the 2 of them left, the men at the table let go of their restraints and began to toast and eat. After drinking more than 30 cups of wine and eating more than 5 kinds of dishes, except for Yugo, Xia Xingchen and Daren, the rest of the people were drunk. Several servants came to take them to the guest room to rest, while Xia Xingchen and Daren went to a tea house in the corner of the greenhouse, brewed 2 cups of fragrant tea, and began to chat. Xia Xingchen gave a detailed account of his experience in this trip to watch Star. He also introduced the contents of the hotel agreement to Daren. Daren also told Xia Xingchen some intelligence from the north, especially the accident of Northern Heavy Industries, because it was too harmful and the impact was too bad. Nicholas wanted to cover it up, but he couldn't. So, how much impact can this have on the north? And how much impact will it have on the war situation in the north? Xia Xingchen asked curiously. He was very happy that such a thing happened in the north. First of all, the impact on the north's finances is huge. At least there is no money to build a squadron. This also accelerates the time of the north's financial collapse. The second is that the research and development and improvement of the mechas of the entire northern empire have almost completely stagnated. The backwardness of research and development will also affect the backwardness of the mecha production progress, and even cause a bunch of defective mechas to be produced, which seriously affects the combat effectiveness. From our evaluation, this accident will at least postpone the time for Nicholas to launch a full-scale war by 2 to 3 months. We analyze that it is very likely that the Northern Empire will launch a general offensive in February or March next year. In this way, we will have more time to prepare and will not delay any further. March next year is probably the critical point for the economic collapse of the Northern Empire. Xia Xingchen was somewhat silent. What are you thinking about? Dayren asked curiously. I'm thinking about what we can do. It's really uncomfortable to be beaten passively. Our military textbooks also say that the best and most economical way to face the enemy is to take the initiative, to attack and keep the enemy out of the country. Xia Xingchen said. Dayren stared at the computer on the coffee table. On the screen was a full administrative map of the Milky Way, with the deployment of troops on both sides marked. Chapter 265 Different Views. If you were Nicholas, how would you fight this battle? Dayren asked. Although the intelligence department and the general staff of the empire have conducted a lot of intelligence analysis and military chess deduction, they believe that the most likely way for the north to take is to concentrate its forces from the Baku starfield to attack the capital starfield of the Galactic Empire. Because there are 8 wormholes between the Baku starfield and the capital starfield, and the distance between the wormholes is far, it is very difficult to defend. The possibility of breaking through from here is the greatest, and the loss is the smallest. Moreover, once the capital starfield is invaded, it will cause a serious blow to the morale of the empire, and even cause riots. The government and the army will also be under great pressure from the people. If it were me, I would focus on the Eastern Administrative Region. Xia Xingchen put forward his point of view. Dayren frowned after listening. He raised an objection. The Eastern Administrative District is connected to the Baikal starfield bordering the Northern Empire by only one medium-sized wormhole. We have deployed 2 fleets there, and the defensive force is sufficient. Moreover, it is an area where wormhole activity is inactive, and it is surrounded by a vast area of unknown space, filled with red giants, neutron stars, white dwarfs, and electromagnetic pulses. It is almost impossible to pass through there safely. Although the probability of new wormholes appearing in areas where wormholes are inactive is very small, it does not mean that new wormholes will not appear. The border area of the Eastern Administrative District is too large. If I were Nicholas, I would look for new routes and wormholes in the Eastern Starfield at all costs. Even a medium-sized wormhole is enough to secretly transport large troops in. The Eastern Administrative District is very large in area, with insufficient defensive forces, and there are many resource and mineral planets on the edge of the Eastern Administrative District, which can completely solve Nicholas' urgent needs, and allow the Northern Empire's economy to support a longer period of time. More importantly, there are many rich people in the Eastern Administrative District, including many wealthy businessmen, large interstellar mineral owners, and important cultural figures. Once their hometowns are invaded and destroyed, they will definitely put great pressure on the government and military of the Galactic Empire, forcing the military to send a large number of troops to the Eastern Administrative District to eliminate the invading enemies. The Eastern Administrative District is too large, and the army of the Northern Empire has sufficient strategic detour space. Therefore, we must withdraw a large number of troops to help, and it is difficult to eliminate the invading enemies in a short period of time, which will cause the defense forces in other places to be reduced. If Nicholas takes the opportunity to launch a sneak attack, he will open up a second battlefield. Due to the selfish nature of human beings, and the usual faces of those politicians, they will not allow the military to withdraw troops from the capital starfield, so the result is that they will definitely ask the military to withdraw the 3rd Fleet, or the 7th Fleet from the western starfield, and it is even possible to withdraw both fleets. Then, the defense of the entire Western Administrative District will be empty. if Nicholas concentrates his forces to attack the Western Administrative District at this time. Once the Western Administrative District is attacked or even falls, the consequences will be unbearable for the Galactic Empire. Dayren remained silent after hearing Xia Xingchen's conclusion. Then he asked, Xingchen, what is the basis for your consideration? Is it just because of the possibility? How do you know that Nicholas will definitely choose to do this? I have studied Nicholas for a long time. I have collected a lot of news, information and reports sent by the intelligence department about him, and tried to think in the way of Nicholas. This is the best way to finish off the opponent. Nicholas is a man who will do anything to get what he wants. He is ambitious and powerful, and what he is best at is manipulating public opinion and playing with people's hearts. The residents of the Northern Administrative District have been brainwashed by him over the years and are loyal to him. The most important point is that I analyzed the various arrangements made by Nicholas against the Empire before he became Emperor. I found that, no matter what despicable means he took, one of the consequences was that the Empire would inevitably fall into a passive position politically. Once the Empire or the military fell into a passive position politically, they would be forced to take some remedial measures under the pressure of public opinion, and he could use these measures to cause more serious damage to the Empire. Combining the history of wars in history, I found that when such a large-scale war breaks out, the victory or defeat of the war is not only determined by the strength and tactics of the army, but also by political factors. The key factor in determining the outcome of the war. Dayren thought for a long time before he said slowly, although I'm reluctant to admit the possibility you mentioned, the possibility of it happening is very high. This matter is of great importance, and I will report your views to the higher-ups immediately. Xia Xingchen nodded. I hope I'm worrying too much. Dayren ordered the servant to take Xia Xingchen to the guest room to rest. He quickly organized Xia Xingchen's analysis into text messages and reported to Dai Yunfei, the Minister of the Interior of the Empire. Dai Yunfei immediately forwarded the report to Marshal von Bismarck, the Grand Marshal of the Imperial Army, and Zhang Chenglong, the Chief of the General Staff, a 5-star general. The next morning, Xia Xingchen woke up early and led several of his men to train in the yard. He fought against Yugo, and the two fought fiercely. Li Ping and Captain Jadal fought against Li Pang and Bimoan. At this time, Dayren hurried over. Xingchen, pack up quickly and go with me to an important meeting. Xia Xingchen was very curious what kind of meeting would require him to attend, but he vaguely felt that this meeting should be related to the things he talked about with Dayren last night. He did not dare to neglect it and quickly took a shower and changed into his military uniform. He went out with Dayren. At this time, 2 Royal Knight Mechas were parked in the small square outside the villa. Seeing Xia Xingchen's puzzled eyes, Dayren explained, time is tight. The meeting will start in more than 20 minutes. Let's take the mecha over. The two men got into the cockpit, and Xia Xingchen followed the instructions to report to the Mecha Management Bureau, Air Defense Forces and other departments of Shineyu and Star. After completing a series of identity verifications, the mecha took off into the air, and several red indicator lights on the body of the mecha kept flashing, indicating that there was an urgent task. The two men stepped on the power pedal with all their strength, and the mecha flew to the destination shown on the map. Their mecha stopped in front of a huge white building, and the two mechas got on 2 elevators. The elevators sank more than 100 meters underground. This is a huge underground space with a radius of nearly 5 kilometers and a height of 30 meters. The interior of the space is full of various buildings, and a large number of mechas are patrolling back and forth. The two walked out of the mecha cabin, and a team of fully armed soldiers conducted a careful full-body examination of the two of them, and took away all the weapons on the two of them. Only then, under the leadership of the two soldiers, they walked to the largest building here. The two came to a meeting room, and as soon as they entered the door, Xia Xingchen was stunned. Xia Xingchen, why are you here? He looked up, and saw that it was Zhang Yingying. There was another lieutenant in the room who looked very tired, and was sitting alone with his eyes closed. Oh, Yingying, I don't know much either. Dayren brought me here. Brother Dayren is always playing tricks. Where is this place? Xia Xingchen asked. This is the Imperial Military Headquarters. Zhang Yingying replied. No wonder, it's heavily guarded. It seems that this is an important place for the military. If Brother Xingchen is interested, I can take you around to visit. You know, I grew up here. Zhang Yingying blinked mischievously. Xia Xingchen knew she was joking. This is the heart of the military. Zhang Yingying can do whatever she wants here, but he himself is not qualified. At this time, the automatic door of the conference room opened, and several people walked in from outside. The 4 people in the room quickly stood up and saluted. Greetings to His Majesty the Emperor. Chapter 266 Battle Analysis. Xia Xingchen was brought to the military headquarters of the Galactic Empire by Dayren. The core of the military headquarters is a complex of buildings located underground. In a conference room, Xia Xingchen also met Zhang Yingying. Just when he was guessing the purpose of his coming here, the door of the conference room opened, and the Emperor Qin Zhi walked in with several people. The 4 people in the room hurriedly stood up and saluted. Everyone sat down one after another. In addition to the 4 young people, the other people who came to the conference room were Qin Zhi, the Emperor of the Galactic Empire, Qin Yuanshan, the Great Elder of the Imperial Elders Council, the old Prime Minister Nkei, the Minister of the Interior Dai Yunfei, the Grand Marshal of the Galactic Empire Military Feng Bismarck, and the Chief of Staff of the Galactic Empire Military Zhang Qinglong, a 5-star general. At this time, the 5-star General Zhang Qinglong spoke. We are holding a special military meeting this time, and I will preside over the meeting. You should all know us, so the 4 young people should introduce yourselves. Dayren stood up and saluted. Dayren, the commander of the Imperial Military Strategic Intelligence Department, is here to report. The old Prime Minister Nkei said with a smile. Old Day, your grandson is really amazing. He is better than his father. Dai Yunfei smiled and said nothing. Emperor Qin Zhi nodded slightly. He and Dayren were of similar age, and had a very good personal relationship. He knew that Dayren's ability was very outstanding. Dayren sat down. Xia Xingchen stood up and saluted, saying, Xia Xingchen, the captain of the 01st Mecha Squadron of the Tangyang, the 3rd Fleet of the Galactic Empire, is here to report. Very good. Major Xia Xingchen can be said to be Nicholas's nemesis, and has made outstanding contributions to the Empire's fight against the Northern Empire. Very good. Princess Crossing's knight was not wrongly chosen. Emperor Qin Zhi of the Empire took the initiative to introduce everyone. Your Majesty is too kind. Xia Xingchen said modestly. Next, Zhang Yingying stood up. Zhang Yingying, the co-pilot of the Tangyang, the tactical commander of the 3rd Fleet of the Galactic Empire, is here to report. Oh, old Zhang, how could you bear to let your granddaughter go to the 3rd Fleet? She is the little princess of the 1st Fleet. Old Prime Minister Nkei was very surprised. Admiral Zhang Qinglong hurriedly explained. Brother, you don't know, this is Yingying's initiative, to ask to go to the grassroots fleet for training, and her family respects her choice. Besides, girls grow up, and can't be kept at home. If they go to pursue their own love, can we old guys stop them? At this point, Admiral Zhang Qinglong looked at Xia Xingchen meaningfully. After Zhang Yingying sat down, the lieutenant stood up and saluted. Jiuo Yunmao, the operations staff officer of the 8th Staff of the General Staff of the Galactic Empire, is here to report. Zhang Qinglong introduced. Yunmao is a genius. He often takes unconventional approaches, and does not follow the ordinary path. He is the most unique one among my staff officers. The Emperor Qin Zhi nodded and praised. As the Emperor of the Empire, I'm very pleased to see so many young talents emerging in the Empire. I'm very pleased. General Zhang, please start. Zhang Qinglong stood up and walked to a full map of the Galactic Empire on the wall and said, the Imperial Military and Intelligence Department have done a lot of intelligence analysis and tactical deductions. Most people believe that Nicholas will concentrate his forces to attack the capital starfield. Among the many analyzers, only 4 people pointed out that the Eastern Administrative District is Nicholas' breakthrough point. These 4 people are Major Xia Xingchen, Captain Zhang Yingying, and Lieutenant Jiuo Yunmao. The other person did not attend the meeting due to work reasons. He is General von Klausch, commander of the 3rd Fleet. The 4 of you have generally agreed on Nicholas's action plan, but the details are similar. The purpose of inviting you here today is to listen to the basis for your judgment. What is the reason for your judgment? Lieutenant Jiuo Yunmao, you talk first. Jiuo Yunmao was silent for a while and said, I can't tell you too much. I only know that, if I were Nicholas, I would choose this way. Because most people don't believe that this will succeed, there will be no targeted arrangements. Zhang Chenglong said, let me add 2 words. This guy is the darkest and most insidious in the general staff. He is very good at setting traps for people and then hitting them with clubs. He has a very good grasp of human nature. I feel that his style and way of thinking are very similar to Nicholas, so let him talk about his views and provide reference for everyone. Yingying, you tell me your ideas. Zhang Yingying stood up and said, Your Majesty, officers, I'm analyzing from the perspective of feasibility. First of all, let's talk about feasibility. Throughout the military history of mankind entering the space age, there have been many key battles in which the defenders believed that there could be no other channels, but the attackers found this channel and launched a successful raid. If I were Nicholas, I would definitely do my best to find such a possibility. The second point is that fighting a war is like playing chess. According to most people's views, Nicholas would choose to directly attack the capital starfield, causing turmoil in the capital starfield, and he would gain some military advantages. But has anyone considered what will happen next? The Empire will send a large army to fight to the death. Since we have a deeper foundation and the capital star region does not have much strategic detour space, the Northern Fleet will be worn down by us bit by bit, and then we will wait for the Northern economy to collapse, or we will counterattack at all costs. This is the script, right? Everyone nodded. Zhang Yingying continued, this choice seems to have some advantages in the early stage, but it will be a dead end in the end. What reason does Nicholas have to choose this first? It is better to find a way out from the east. Once you break through there will be dozens or hundreds of ways to play, and the whole game will be revitalized. If the Empire fails to respond properly, it will inevitably be in danger of being overturned. The above is my immature opinion, for reference only. Well, that's great. Marshal Feng Bismarck took the lead in applauding. Xia Xingchen was taken to the Xianyuan Star Galaxy Empire military headquarters by Dayren. Here, he had the honor of attending a special military meeting. Here, Xia Xingchen, Zhang Yingying and Jiuo Yunmao, 3 young military officers, will introduce their judgments to the Emperor and military generals on Nicholas's decision to choose the Eastern Administrative Region as a breakthrough point. After Zhang Yingying and Jiuo Yunmao expressed their opinions, the 5-star General Zhang Qinglong, the chief of the General Staff of the Imperial Army, asked Xia Xingchen to tell his opinion. Chapter 267 Xia Xingchen's analysis. Xia Xingchen stood up and said slowly, I wonder if any of you here are from the Eastern Administrative Region. Everyone looked at each other, full of questions. Most of them had settled in Xianyuan Star in the capital star region several generations ago. At this time, the old Prime Minister NK spoke up. Haha, you are basically all native Xianyuan people. I'm an old man, but I'm from Penglai Star. Everyone suddenly realized that Prime Minister NK had been serving in the cabinet since they were old enough to understand. If he didn't take the initiative to say it, these people really forgot where he was from and thought he was a native like everyone else. Xia Xingchen nodded and then asked, then Lord NK, where are your family and your family's industries mainly located? Most of my family has settled in the Xianyuan Star region, but some of my children and most of the family's ancestral property are in Penglai Star. Prime Minister NK replied. Then Lord NK, I believe that you are aware of your will and will devote everything you have to the Empire. However, suppose you are an ordinary imperial official or an ordinary politician, your family and most of your family businesses are in the Eastern Administrative District. When you learn that the border of the Eastern Administrative District has been lost, and your hometown is being attacked by the army of the Northern Empire, what will you do? Then I will definitely use all my strength to put pressure on the imperial government and the military, demanding that the military quickly send troops to the Eastern Administrative District to wipe out the invading enemy. And I will unite with my fellow villagers, mobilize public opinion, and use the power of the people to put pressure on the Empire and the military, NK said. Then Lord NK, based on your decades of experience, considering the influence of the Eastern Administrative District in our government and all walks of life, what is the probability that the government will be forced to compromise? The old Prime Minister thought for a moment. The Eastern Administrative District is the cultural center of our country. The proportion of senior government officials from the Eastern Administrative District is second only to the Capital Administrative District. And most of them still have their roots in their hometowns. We from the Eastern Administrative District also have a common characteristic, which is that we are attached to our hometowns and are very nostalgic. Many officials go back home to retire after retirement. They have very close ties with the officials and ministers in the current government. I can say with certainty that once these people make trouble, the possibility that the government and the military will be forced to compromise is more than 90%. Xia Xingchen pressed on. Then Lord Prime Minister, suppose that the Eastern Administrative District has fallen, or is in danger, and there are calls from both the government and the opposition for the army to send troops to assist in the cleanup. Then if the military wants to dispatch the First Fleet to rescue nearby, do you think all the ministers in the court will agree? It will definitely not be approved. Not a single warship will be allowed to be transferred from the garrison of the Capital Star region. Once something happens in the Capital Star region, the consequences will be disastrous. People are selfish. If their own safety and the safety of their families cannot be taken into account at the same time, most people will choose the former first. Xia Xingchen turned around and asked Zhang Chenglong and Marshal Feng Pissima, then Chief of Staff Zhang and Marshal, what do you think the army will do if the Eastern Administrative Region is attacked and the government puts pressure on you? Which fleet will you send? Feng Pissima smiled and said, then, Xingchen, which fleet do you think we should send? The 3rd Fleet, or the 7th Fleet, or both fleets together? The Eastern Administrative Region is vast, and only if these two fleets are dispatched at the same time can we be sure to defeat the invading enemy in a short period of time. Feng Pissima nodded. Your analysis is correct. Xia Xingchen continued, if the 3rd Fleet and the 7th Fleet are transferred away, only some civilian armed forces in the 6th Fleet will be left to defend the Western Star region. If I were Nicholas, I would definitely do my best to take over the Western Star region. Once the Western Star region is lost, Nicholas will send heavy troops to guard the 2 wormholes from the Capital Star region to the Western Star region, and the Empire will almost lose half of its territory. I don't need to elaborate on the strategic position of the Western Star region. At that time, the outcome of the entire war will be a 50-50 number. I have studied Nicholas's behavior for a long time. He is very good at playing with people's hearts and manipulating public opinion. I think he will definitely choose this path. Moreover, I have studied the history of the Milky Way. In such a large-scale war, political factors can even directly determine the final outcome of the war. Therefore, the military must consider the impact of political factors on the combat effectiveness of the army. After Xia Xingchen finished speaking, the whole room was silent. Deathly silent. It was not until more than 10 minutes later that the imperial bosses in the room woke up from their shock. Everyone, please tell me what you think. The old Prime Minister NK was the first to break the silence. I don't understand military affairs, so I'll just say a few words to start a discussion. What Xia Xingchen analyzed just now is absolutely true. If the Eastern Administrative District is breached, this situation will inevitably happen. These politicians and literati are all hypocritical people, and they are very selfish in their bones. To hell with the character of literati and the integrity of officials. It doesn't matter in front of interests. This is human nature. Feng Pissima nodded. From a military point of view, Colonel Zhang Yengying's suggestion is very reasonable. If the army of the Northern Empire attacks the capital Starfield, it seems that they have taken the initiative, but in fact they are putting themselves in a dead end, and once they break through the Eastern Starfield, they will open up the situation in one fell swoop. Nicholas and I are old rivals. The probability that he chooses this direction to break through is more than 70%. Admiral Zhang Chenglong said, I agree with the Marshal's point of view. De Yunfei also expressed his opinion. Our intelligence department will strengthen its infiltration into the eastern region of the Northern Empire. It seems that we have overlooked something very important. Since the adults have basically reached a consensus, what countermeasures do we have? Emperor Qin Zhi of the Empire asked. This was what he cared about most. Marshal Feng Bismarck said, "Your Majesty, since these young talents have come to participate in this meeting, they can see Nicholas's move, and will have some ideas. Why not listen to their opinions? Yes, those of us with old brains are rigid in thinking, and have formed a fixed mindset in many aspects. We need fresh ideas, to bring us some inspiration." Prime Minister N.K. raised his hand to show his approval. "Guo Yunmao, you say it." 5-star General Zhang Chenglang named again. Chapter 268 The Empire's Countermeasures. At the Imperial Special Military Conference, the Emperor of the Galactic Empire and the military leaders discussed the possibility of the Northern Empire launching a full-scale attack on the Galactic Empire using the Eastern Administrative Region as a breakthrough point. Everyone reached a consensus that Nicholas had a high probability of launching a full-scale attack from here. Then they had to discuss countermeasures. Marshal von Bismarck suggested that everyone listen to the opinions of these young officers. Guo Yunmao was the first to be named. He touched his head and said embarrassedly, "Chief of Staff, you know me, I have no great ability, but I'm full of bad water. My approach and response method are very extreme. The Empire will definitely not adopt them. Let's not talk about it." "Bullshit, you are getting ahead of yourself, right? Just say it when I tell you to." Zhang Chenglang's face sank. "Okay, I'll say it, but you can't blame me." Guo Yunmao was helpless. His boss had spoken, and he had no choice. "If you have something to say, hurry up." "Okay, I'll say it. I'm a mixed up person, and I don't want to think too much and take care of the feelings of too many people. If I were the Emperor of the Empire or the Supreme Commander of the Army, I would strategically shrink the Eastern Administrative Region and focus on defending the important targets of each planet. In this way, even if the North attacks the Eastern Administrative Region, at most they can only plunder some resources. And once they start, I will launch a general attack in the Capital Administrative Region and the Western Administrative Region at the same time. With our comprehensive national strength, we are capable of fighting on multiple fronts, while the Northern Empire does not have such capabilities. In this way, our Imperial Army will suffer heavy losses in the short term, but in the long run it will save a lot of resources for the Empire. It's just that more people will die. In fact, if the war drags on for too long, more people will die. Of course, there will be a lot of opposition in the country, but it doesn't matter. The Ministry of the Interior can just kill more people. If killing people is not useful, it must be that they haven't killed enough. I'm done." Guo Yunmao curled his lips, expressing helplessness. Guo Yunmao's answer caused several people in the room to laugh, but after laughing, it also triggered everyone's thinking. They are in high positions, and every decision they make will change the fate of countless people, so they are always weighing the pros and cons. One of the principles of decision making is to try to balance the interests of all parties. However, such a trade-off has bound their hands and feet. After weighing many things for a long time, they found that they had reached a dead end. Guo Yunmao's approach is simple and crude, and it is a quick and easy way to cut the Gordian knot. If you think about it carefully, this may not be a bad idea. Admiral Zhang Chenglang said, "I'm glad that you are not the Emperor of the Empire. But you act a lot like Nicholas." Prime Minister N.K. said, "Old Zhang, the kid's last point is very right. We must kill those opponents until we are satisfied. We are bound by too many things, and step by step we have put ourselves in a dead end. Nicholas' biggest advantage over us is that he does things without scruples, is ruthless, does things without regard for the consequences, and is very efficient. Your Majesty, please remember this. We must withstand the pressure, be ruthless when we should be ruthless, kill when we should kill, and confiscate property when we should confiscate property. Now is a time of war, and being kind to some people is being cruel to ourselves. Otherwise, if we compromise with certain forces and lose the war, we will have to bear the blame." Emperor Qin Zhi nodded. The student has learned his lesson. Admiral Zhang Chenglang called again. "Ying, you tell me. My suggestion is to adjust the defense zones of our existing fleets. Send the 7th Fleet and several reserve fleets to the Eastern Administrative Region, and then send a Princess's Knights to the Western Star Region to assist in defense. Although the pressure on the Western Administrative Region is greater, the Western Administrative Region has great potential. The fleets produced continuously can slowly make up for the defense gap brought by the 7th Fleet. The Northern Empire is also stretched to its limits and is unlikely to launch an attack in the near future. This is my opinion. Zhang Yingying also made a statement. Major Xia Xingchen, please tell me. I think no matter what countermeasures we take for this matter, the most important issue is to keep it confidential. As soon as Xia Xingchen opened his mouth, the people in the room fell into thought again. Xia Xingchen added, we have made targeted arrangements for Nicholas's plan, so that once Nicholas launches a full-scale attack, he will be hit head-on. However, these arrangements are based on the premise that Nicholas does not know that we have noticed his purpose. Once he knows that we are prepared, Nicholas will definitely not jump into the trap again. Moreover, he will definitely find a way to make some noise in the Eastern Administrative District, which will greatly contain the Empire's military power. Therefore, confidentiality is the top priority. Major Xia Xingchen is right. Today's matter is only known to a few of us. The rest, including your family and adjutant, cannot be disclosed to them. We must make a false move while secretly attacking Chenkang. Marshal Feng Bismarck said seriously. Emperor Qin Zhi nodded. Your Excellency Marshal is right. Let De Yunfei supervise the confidentiality work. Yes, Your Majesty, I will draft a confidentiality agreement immediately after the meeting. De Yunfei nodded in agreement. Emperor Qin Zhi motioned Xia Xingchen to continue. In addition, according to Yingying's plan, I suggest that the 7th Fleet be divided into several parts, with squadrons as units, and quietly transfer strategically to the Eastern Administrative District in the name of training. Then all the newly produced fleets in the Western Administrative District will be incorporated into the 7th Fleet. For each newly built squadron, a combat-capable squadron will be sent to the Eastern Administrative District. The flagship of the 7th Fleet will remain in the Western Administrative District to confuse the Northern Empire. But, a very thoughtful idea. Marshal von Klausch took the lead in applauding. However, Your Majesty, the Emperor, and all the gentlemen, we can't always be passively defensive. Taking the initiative to attack and keep the enemy out of the country is the best choice. I suggest that the military form a secret force to infiltrate and disrupt the north. It will also make Nicholas exhausted. In addition, mercenary organizations can be asked to issue tasks and use money to kill them, and the Empire's intelligence department can also use these people to complete the infiltration of the north. That's all I have to say, for your reference only. Warm applause rang out in the conference room again. Chapter 269 Guo Yunmao's request. The military meeting was over. Xia Xingchen and the other three walked out of the meeting room, while the others continued the meeting. At present, the general direction has been determined, but there are still many details to be improved. Zhang Yingying took Xia Xingchen out, and she was familiar with the place. Several soldiers behind her followed closely and dutifully. Major Xia Xingchen, Captain Zhang Yingying, please stay. Guo Yunmao hesitated for a long time behind the two. Xia Xingchen turned around. What do you want? Lieutenant Guo Yunmao. Xia Xingchen was impressed by Guo Yunmao. He felt that this person's use of tactics and strategies was closest to Nicholas, and he was a rare talent. Major Xia, Captain Zhang, I heard that the Princess Knights are about to recruit people in the general staff. I have always hoped to go to the local area to train myself. However, you can probably feel that my way of thinking is very different from that of ordinary people, so I may not be recognized by the examiner during the selection. Therefore, I would like to ask Knight Xia Xingchen to help me speak in front of Princess Crossing and give me a chance. Guo Yunmao spoke sincerely, and Xia Xingchen saw sincerity in his eyes. People like Guo Yunmao can be described as geniuses, but their way of thinking is too different, so many of their actions are not understood by ordinary people. Guo Yunmao is the same. He was admitted to the general staff with excellent results in the first year after graduating from the military academy. He originally thought that he could give full play to his talents here. Who knew that here every day is to do endless intelligence analysis and various military chess deductions. Guo Yunmao, who has an extremely active mind, often has shocking insights. People around him think he is a lunatic and stay away from him. especially in several military chess competitions organized within the general staff. He used all kinds of means that seemed despicable to outsiders to win, and was isolated by other people in the staff. In the Imperial General Staff, only the Chief of General Staff Zhang Qinglong, a 5-star general, appreciated him very much. Guo Yunmao wanted to transfer from the Imperial General Staff more than once, but was rejected. General Zhang was reluctant to let go of such a talent. Now, he finally has such an opportunity. He really doesn't want to stay here any longer, but he is very clear about his situation, so he wanted to ask Xia Xingchen for help. Xia Xingchen was very excited when he heard this. I very much welcome you to join Princess Crossing's Knights. I know very well that you are a very good commander. I will definitely report your request to the princess. I think Princess Crossing will not reject talents like you. But, Xia Xingchen changed the subject. I don't know if the general staff has relevant regulations. I don't know whether they can let him go. This requires Miss Zhang Yingying's help. I hope you can help me speak in front of the chief of staff. I will never forget your kindness. As he said this, he bowed deeply to the two. Xia Xingchen hurriedly helped him up. Lieutenant Guo Yunmao, you don't have to be so polite. I believe that talents like you will shine wherever you go. It is an honor for the Princess Knights to have you join. Yingying, I will leave it to you at the chief of staff. Zhang Yingying pouted. My grandfather loves talents the most. If he knew that I poached his people, he would scold me to death. But since you said so, Xia Xingchen, I will go all out. You wait for the news. Thank you, both of you. Guo Yunmao said goodbye to the two, and turned to leave. Since Xia Xingchen came by Mecha and Aren was still in the meeting, Xia Xingchen took Zhang Yingying's maglev car to leave the military's own Imperial Military Department. Zhang Yingying sent Xia Xingchen to the residence of Princess Crossing in the palace before driving home. Xia Xingchen walked into the bedroom of Princess Qingchen. After the guard at the door of the princess's mansion carefully verified his identity, Xia Xingchen was released. Since he was still the princess's guardian knight in name, he had the right to move freely in the princess's bedroom. In the hall on the first floor of the bedroom, he met Hu Rongshan. It was already past 8 o'clock in the evening, and Hu Rongshan was sitting in front of the big screen watching the live broadcast of the mecha fighting competition. Xia Xingchen took the initiative to greet him. Mr. Hu, good evening. Is Princess Qingchen here? Oh, Xingchen is here. The princess thinks about you every day and looks forward to your coming. The princess is upstairs. She should be in her bedroom. She has instructed that if you come, just go in and find her. Then Mr. Hu, you are busy. I'll go upstairs. I have something to ask the princess about the Princess Knights. Okay, go quickly. Hu Rongshan agreed, with a meaningful smile in his eyes. Xia Xingchen came to the princess bedroom on the second floor. Mariah, the princess's personal maid, was reading a book on the sofa outside the bedroom door with a reader. Miss Mariah, is the princess here? Xia Xingchen asked in a low voice. Mariah was a 16-year-old girl. She looked up and saw that it was Xia Xingchen. She smiled and said, it turned out to be Mr. Knight. The princess is inside, but she had a meeting with Princess Yu all night last night and was busy all day today. She just slept for 2 hours. Is that so? Then I'll come tomorrow. It's okay. The princess said that, as long as you, Knight Xia Xingchen, come, you can go in at any time. Besides, the palace is far away from where you live. It takes half a day to go back and forth. No, let the princess have a good rest. How about this, Knight Xia Xingchen, you rest in the guest room next door for one night, so that you can see the princess first tomorrow morning. Xia Xingchen thought for a moment and thought that Mariah was right. It takes at least 2 hours to take a maglev car from the palace to the 1524 Mecha Club, and the round trip is really torturous. Then I'll have to trouble Miss Mariah. Mariah nodded in agreement, but blinked cunningly, and led him into a room next to the princess's bedroom. This is a luxuriously decorated room with a full range of furniture and facilities. Knight Xia Xingchen, you will stay in this guest room tonight. There are pajamas specially prepared for guests in the closet. You should have a good rest, and you don't need to get up too early. The princess will sleep for a long time. Mariah settled Xia Xingchen and closed the heavy wooden door. She quietly came to her desk at the door of the princess's bedroom and secretly pressed the pager. Sister Jaina, wake up quickly, your knight is here. Chapter 270 The Princess's Tenderness. Xia Xingchen took a shower, changed into pajamas, and lay on the soft big bed. He looked at the huge monitor on the ceiling just above the bed. The TV program inside was a news commentary. A group of experts and professors were arguing about the comparison of the military strength of the Galactic Empire and the Northern Empire and what offensive means the two sides would take. Xia Xingchen watched them talk nonsense with interest for a while, and began to deduce the military chess of the two sides in his mind. Maybe the string in his mind was too tight in the past few months on the warship, and in order to free up more time for training and learning mecha with Master Zuo, Xia Xingchen has been using meditation instead of sleep. Now lying in the core area of the Empire, which is also the safest place in the entire Galactic Empire, his mood suddenly relaxed, and he fell asleep on the bed. The big screen on the ceiling detected that he had not moved for a long time, and automatically turned off the TV. The lights in the room gradually dimmed. After a while, the wall connecting the room to Princess Crossing's bedroom suddenly opened quietly to both sides. A beautiful figure sneaked in and quietly got into Xia Xingchen's bed. Xia Xingchen had a dream. In the dream, he suddenly smelled a very fragrant smell. When he turned around, he saw Freya, whom he had been thinking about day and night. Xia Xingchen's eyes were moist, and the emotions and desires that had been suppressed for more than a year burst out instantly. He turned around and pressed Freya under him. It was already bright outside, and Xia Xingchen finally woke up from his sleep. He felt indescribably comfortable all over, as if the burden he had been carrying for a long time was suddenly lifted. But he felt something was wrong. The pajamas he was wearing were gone, and in his arms, there was a naked body. Xia Xingchen looked closely, and found that the naked woman lying in his arms was actually Princess Xingchen. At this time, Xingchen also woke up, and was looking at him affectionately. Xia Xingchen's mind was suddenly struck by lightning, and his brain went blank. The feeling of his body at this time made him understand what happened last night. Jaina, Xia Xingchen was speechless, not knowing how to explain. Xingchen stretched out a finger and pressed it on Xia Xingchen's lips. Brother Xingchen, you don't have to say anything. Jaina volunteered. I have liked you for a long time, and I found that I can no longer leave you. I know that you still have Sister Freya in your heart, but things are over, and everything should be looked forward, right? Besides, aren't we working together to avenge Sister Freya? I know that I'm not the only one who likes you, but also Yingying, Kinga, and Xinga. I can understand the look in their eyes when they look at you. Brother Xingchen, I'm not a selfish person. If you have other people you like in the future, I will bless you. Just keep a place for Jaina in your heart, Brother Xingchen. Xia Xingchen was moved by Xingchen's confession. He never thought that he would be so popular, nor did he expect Princess Crossing to be so bold and straightforward. He was very moved that Princess Crossing was willing to give for him. Jaina, I will be responsible. Brother Xingchen, don't say anything, love me. The two merged together again. It was not until noon that the two got up. Xia Xingchen went to the bathroom to take a shower. Xingchen secretly took away the sheets from last night and slipped back to her room. There was a beautiful red flower on the sheets. After the two finished washing and dressing up, they walked out of their respective rooms and went downstairs together. Xingchen's walking posture was a little strange, but her face was filled with a special look, which made her even more moving and a little more charming. Seeing the state of the two, Mariah and Hurangshan secretly grinned on the side. The two had lunch together, and Xingchen asked Xia Xingchen the purpose of this trip. Jaina, how far has your knight's formation progressed? Xia Xingchen asked. We have just started the preparations. My sister and I didn't sleep for a day and 2 nights to finalize the details. Now we are starting to promote the recruitment of personnel, and the selection of personnel will officially begin in 10 days. Is that so? I met an officer who wanted to join your princess knights. Then, he told Xingchen about his encounter with Jiuo Yunmao at the military meeting. From what you said, brother, you highly respect this Jiuo Yunmao, so how strong is his ability? I only met him once, but I saw his speech at the military meeting. He is a person with extremely quick thinking and unique insights. For more details, we can ask Yingying. Princess Crossing nodded and called Zhang Yingying's personal terminal directly. Not long after, Zhang Yingying's picture appeared on the big screen on the wall. Xia Xingchen asked first, Yingying, I'm Xingchen. I'm with Princess Crossing now, to discuss the matter of Lieutenant Guo Yunmao. What is the situation there? What is the opinion of the Chief of Staff on this matter? Zhang Yingying smiled bitterly. Brother Xingchen, the old man firmly disagreed at first, and he was a little reluctant. To tell you the truth, my grandfather wanted to train him as his successor. Now he is deliberately suppressed to temper his character and let him grow up in setbacks and adversity. He is afraid that this talent will not be developed properly. Later, I told my grandfather that now is the time to use people. Wouldn't it be better to use the blood and flesh of the enemy on the battlefield to sharpen his sharp knife? In the end, my grandfather finally agreed, but the principle is that he can only be seconded, and he is not allowed to transfer his relationship to the royal fleet. Really, such a big chief of staff is still pulling a mountain. At this time, Princess Xingchen asked, Yingying, how much do you know about Lieutenant Guo Yunmao? What does the chief of staff say about him? Sister Jaina, I don't have much contact with him, but I often hear my grandfather mention this person at home. As for his ability, in the non-restricted military chess deduction competition held by the General Staff last year, he defeated all more than 100 staff officers who registered for the competition in a single round-robin competition. He used unconventional tactics and methods, and used many controversial and even immoral tactics. But my grandfather and several old generals in the General Staff highly praised him. I heard from my grandfather that, if Lieutenant Guo Yunmao led a squadron, he could destroy an entire fleet for you. If he was under Nicholas, the probability of our galactic empire winning the war would be less than 150%. My grandfather only made such comments to two people. The other person he praised was General von Krosch. Xia Xingchen and Xingchen looked at each other and nodded. The two of them finally had an intuitive understanding of Guo Yunmao's strength. The championship of this non-restrictive military exercise is very valuable. General military chess simulations are all limited battlefield conditions, such as equal forces, equal equipment conditions, equal terrain, equal cosmic environment and political environment. In military chess simulations under non-restrictive conditions, all conditions are random. The gap in strength between the two opposing sides may be very large, and they may also face the influence of complex terrain and political environment. There is also a lot of luck involved. It can be said that this kind of military chess simulation under non-restrictive conditions is the closest to actual combat, and can best reflect the commander's wisdom and ability. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271 Zuo Leo's Course. The Galactic Empire General Staff's non-restricted military chess competition is held once a year. It is a test of the level of these staff officers, a test of their work, and a special way to select talents. The personal abilities of these staff officers of the Galactic Empire Military General Staff are very outstanding. They can win the battle against more than 100 excellent staff officers. In the history of the Galactic Empire Military General Staff, Guo Yunmao is the fourth person to achieve this feat. The first three people who did this later grew up to become the Grand Marshal or Chief of Staff of the Empire. That's why Zhang Qinglong, a 5-star general, attaches so much importance to him. Princess Crossing blinked her eyes. It seems that my brother really sent me a great talent. How about this? Let him be the Chief of Staff of the Knights, and Yingying be the fleet commander. Thank you Princess Jaina for your kindness, but I'm afraid I can't agree to you. After all, we are seconded. Once the full-scale war breaks out, Xingchen and I will always return to the team. If we change the commander at that time, it will cause a big mess. So I suggest that the princess directly let Guo Yunmao serve as the combat commander. Trust people when you employ them, and don't employ people if you don't trust them. Xingchen thought about it, and felt that what she said made sense. After all, the combat effectiveness of the Princess Knights is limited, but the Third Fleet is different. Letting Zhang Yingyi command a more powerful regular fleet can better exert her command ability. Then I'll inconvenience you for now, sister. It's decided. I'll draft the appointment letter and the personnel transfer report immediately. After solving Jiuo Yunmao's problem, Xia Xingchen stayed here for another night. At night, Princess Crossing sneaked into the guest room again, and the two played the game of princess versus knight all night. The next morning, Xia Xingchen said goodbye and left the princess's mansion. Kinjana went out to see him off in person, reluctant to leave, and sent her own maglev car to take Xia Xingchen away. Along the way, Xia Xingchen felt like he was dreaming. He also liked Jaina very much, but he felt that he was not ready to accept this relationship, but he didn't want to hurt Kinjana, so he had to let her control him. His mood was very conflicted, but the feeling of being with Kinjana was very sweet. Moreover, Xia Xingchen felt that his mental power level was going to increase again. Could it be that his physique, under the influence of the mysterious crystal pyramid, would increase his mental power as long as he had sex with a woman? Then wouldn't he become a flower-stealing thief? Thinking of this, Xia Xingchen smiled bitterly. More than an hour later, the car finally arrived at the destination, the Imperial Military Command College. The car had a special pass from the royal family, so it could drive directly into the campus and head to the building complex where the Mecha Repair and Design Department was located. Mr. Zhuo Lehen would give students 5 classes here. The school had issued a notice for these 5 classes a few days in advance, and the content of the class was to answer the confusion and difficulties encountered by students in Mecha Repair and Design. Students uploaded the questions they wanted to ask to the college's Skynet through their personal terminals in advance, and Mr. Zhuo carefully selected some valuable questions from these questions as materials for the class. Xia Xingchen certainly didn't want to miss such an opportunity to improve. The princess's maglev car sped across the campus of the Imperial Military Command College. The royal family's logo was printed in a very conspicuous position on the body of the car, causing students on the road to stop and watch. Private cars are not allowed to pass through the Imperial Military Command College. Here you can only see the campus shuttle buses that run in all directions and the occasional military vehicles belonging to the school. The students were very curious about which royal figure had come to the school. As soon as the car entered the campus, his personal terminal sent a communication request. Xia Xingchen answered the call, and Zhuo King's pretty little face appeared on the screen. Xia Xingchen, class is about to start. Grandpa asked me to send you a class pass. Where are you? Zhuo King asked. The Mecha Maintenance and Design Department of the Imperial Military Command Academy has a total of thousands of classrooms. Mr. Zhuo Lehen's class is in classroom number 1 of the Mecha Maintenance and Design Department. This classroom is well equipped, but it can only accommodate 300 people. Only those students majoring in advanced mecha design can come to classroom number 1 to attend classes after applying and being approved. And the number of people who are approved is very small because the lecturers and professors of the academy occupy more than 200 seats. Other students can only watch the live broadcast on the big screen in other classrooms. Mr. Zhuo specially took care of Xia Xingchen and got him a seat, which was in the first row. But he never came to get the pass, so Mr. Zhuo asked the little beauty Zhuo King to wait for her outside the door. Zhuo King was waiting at the entrance of the number 1 teaching building of the Mecha Maintenance and Design Department with a pass in hand. She had always been the center of attention, and the notorious princess guards surrounding her were an example. Usually, when she gave an order, the boys would rush to help her, but at this moment, she had been waiting for more than an hour and could no longer bear it, so she called Xia Xingchen's number. The princess guards members next to her thought that this young lady would get angry, but when they saw her pretending to be a lady and speaking gently, their eyes dropped to the ground. Xia Xingchen said that he would be there soon, and the car soon stopped at the entrance of the number 1 teaching building, attracting a crowd of onlookers. Xia Xingchen opened the car door and walked out, and was also shocked by the scene. Zhuo King stepped forward without saying a word, took his arm, and walked into the classroom. The crowd watching was stunned, especially the members of the so-called princess guards. What fell to the ground now was not eyeballs, but broken hearts. Classroom number 1 was packed, and the class lasted more than 4 hours. Mr. Zuo Leung answered the students' questions with his unique perspective and rich experience, and did a lot of knowledge expansion to inspire students to think actively. After class, Dr. Emerson personally invited Mr. Zuo and Xia Xingchen to have dinner at his home. Upon learning that the teacher had come to Xia Star, Dr. Emerson took a long leave, and he personally took care of Mr. Zuo's food, clothing, housing and transportation here. Xia Xingchen, Zuo King and Mr. Zuo Leung were invited to have dinner at Dr. Emerson's home. The doctor got a luxurious villa in the family area of the college, but he rarely lives here because his main workplace is Xianwei 8. Chapter 272, Transforming the Dragoon System. Since Mr. Zuo was going to give a lecture on Xianwei Star, Dr. Emerson specially asked his wife and servants to clean the villa spotlessly to welcome Mr. Zuo to move in. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, Dr. Emerson asked the teacher what he thought about in the afternoon and whether he wanted to visit the scenic spots of Xianwei Star. No, I have been to Xianwei Star many times and have been to all the places I should visit. I'm old now, and I should seize the time to make use of my remaining energy. Mr. Zuo Leung suddenly remembered something and asked, Xingchen, when do you plan to transform your Dragon Rider Flying General Mech? Oh, Mr. Zuo, I plan to start in the next few days. Has your mech arrived? No, I plan to transform the Dragon Rider system on Xianwei Star, and then return to Tangyang to complete the rest of the work. You also know that, if a mech with a nuclear power engine wants to enter Xianwei Star, it needs to be reported and approved, which is too troublesome. Mr. Zuo nodded. Where are you going to do the modification work? Are the equipment and materials ready? The location is at the 1524 Mecha Club. There is a mecha laboratory that belongs to me. I will do the modification work there. Oh. Hearing that Xia Xingchen had his own mecha laboratory, he was very curious and excited. Let's go and have a look. I, an old man, can also give you some references by the way. Thank you, Mr. Zuo. Zuo Leung, Xia Xingchen, Zuo King and Dr. Emerson got on a maglev RV and drove all the way to the 1524 Mecha Club. Xia Xingchen had greeted Yao Yi in advance and handled the passes for the maintenance workshop for several people in advance. Because to go to Xia Xingchen's secret mecha laboratory, you need to go through the maintenance workshop. Several people walked straight into the maintenance workshop and went directly to the number 6 mecha elevator. The elevator slowly descended, passed through the warehouse on the underground floor, and ran down nearly 30 meters. The door of the elevator opened, and the huge mecha laboratory appeared in front of them. After Xia Xingchen left Xianwei Star, Hans Grandet never gave up on modifying and upgrading here. Now, the area here has expanded to more than 1,000 square meters, and a lot of equipment has been added. Hans and Xia Xingchen invested nearly 100 billion star coins in this small laboratory. Hans firmly believes that these equipment will allow Xia Xingchen to bring more profits to the club. And the war is coming. At least this place can be used as an air raid shelter. Zuo Leo and Dr. Emerson carefully checked the single equipment in the laboratory, and both nodded and praised it. With such equipment conditions, most mecha research work can be carried out here. I've decided that I will come here every afternoon to help you kid transform the mecha. Thank you, Zuo Leo. Several people walked into a room of more than 50 square meters. This is the design room. Large displays and electronic drawings are installed on the walls around the room. There is also a holographic imaging system in the room. Xia Xingchen projected the design drawings in his personal terminal onto the display screen. The design drawings are divided into 2 parts. One part is the modification of the propeller at the rear of the Dragon Rider Warrior Mech. The flywheel disc on the entire back of the mech was removed and replaced with 3 pairs of flying wings. The fixing device at the root of the flying wing can be moved up and down, which allows each floating gun to have a shooting angle of 90 degrees, even if it is fixed on the body of the mech. The other part of the modification is the floating gun itself. The newly designed floating gun is 3.2 meters long, 105 centimeters wide and 60 centimeters thick. There is a socket at the tail of the floating gun connected to the flying wing. Usually it is part of the flying wing at the rear of the mech. The floating gun is equipped with 4 miniature red light thrusters. This makes its speed amazing, but the energy consumption is not high. The laser hole of the floating gun is slender. It is both a laser gun and a light energy sword. This is the so-called GLONASS system. The material used for the floating gun is Nim-201 alloy, which is the material for making alloy swords. It is not heavy, but extremely hard and resistant to high temperatures. Even if the floating gun is hit by a laser or a light energy sword, it will not cause too much damage. Each floating gun is also equipped with a mental force sensing device, with a sensing control distance of 200 meters. However, this thing is just a cover-up. Dr. Emerson calculated the manufacturing cost. Xingchen, your set of flying wings plus 6 floating guns may cost more than 3 billion star coins. Teacher Emerson, money doesn't matter to me. Even if I spend an extra 100 billion star coins, it is worth it to buy back a life on the battlefield. Yes, Xia Xingchen is the right answer. It is the Mecha Master's desire for life and the pursuit of continuous strengthening that allows us to make a living. Zuo Lehen paused and then said, Xia Xingchen, tell me about your design ideas and needs. Xia Xingchen explained, my modification of the Dragon Rider Flying General Mecha this time is mainly based on the following considerations. The first is to increase the speed of the mecha. I'm now exposed to many increasingly powerful opponents. When fighting against them, speed is a very important factor in winning. Especially in large-scale group operations, speed can save lives. Now that I have removed the flywheel of the Dragoon system, I can install a larger area of thrusters. After adding the flying wings to the mecha, the flight performance of the mecha in the atmosphere has also been greatly improved. And this idea of designing the floating gun and the flying wing as one can save space to the maximum extent without affecting the maneuverability of the mecha. Second, the power of the laser cannon of the Dragon Rider Flying General Mecha was really limited. Now the newly designed floating gun is equipped with the GLONASS system that combines the laser cannon and the light sword. Not only has the power of the laser been enhanced, but I have 6 more weapons that can be used for unexpected close combat. I named it the Flying Sword System. Third, the floating gun and the flywheel of the Dragon Rider Flying General Mecha were made of ordinary materials before, which were very fragile. I had to be very careful when fighting to prevent them from being hit. Now, the floating gun and the flying wing are made of Nim-210 alloy, which is very strong, which solves my worries when fighting. After listening to his description, Mr. Zuo Lehen fell into deep thought. After a long time, he asked a question. Xingchen, I have met many S-class and A-class mecha masters, and they are not interested in the Dragoon system. They all agree that this is a system with fatal flaws. Especially when a mecha master faces a stronger opponent, this fighting method that cannot hit all the attention is very fatal. There are many ways to improve the combat effectiveness and offensive means of mechas. Why are you obsessed with the Dragoon system? Xia Xingchen was a little embarrassed because it involved some of his secrets. But then he thought again, whether it was Mr. Zuo Lehen or Dr. Emerson, they had come into contact with a large number of S-class and A-class mecha masters, and they knew them well enough to tailor mechas for them. Moreover, keeping confidentiality for customers is also the professional ethics of mecha repairer. He can still trust Mr. Zuo and Dr. Emerson's character. Chapter 273 Heading to Bowl Island. Xia Xingchen, Zuo Lehen, Dr. Emerson and Zuo King came to the secret mecha laboratory 30 meters underground in the 1524 Mecha Club, preparing to start transforming the Dragoon system and floating down on the Dragon Rider Mecha. After listening to Xia Xingchen's introduction of his mecha design ideas, Zuo Lehen asked Xia Xingchen why he was obsessed with the Dragoon system. After a fierce ideological struggle, Xia Xingchen finally spoke. Mr. Zuo, Mr. Emerson, Kinga, this matter involves my personal secrets. Please keep it confidential. The three nodded, and Xia Xingchen continued. When my mental power level broke through level 22 years ago, I awakened my mental power. However, my mental power is quite special. It is not an elemental attribute, nor does it have any attack power, but it can appear in a special form, which is the mental power clone. In addition to my main body, my mental power can now be divided into 6 mental power clones. Each of these mental power clones can think and act independently, but their thinking is still controlled by the main body, and they can share information with the main body. The reason for using the Dragoon system is that each of my consciousness can independently control a floating gun. More importantly, the sensing distance between this mental power main body and the clone is as long as 800 meters. Therefore, the problem of distraction that troubles other mecha divisions does not exist here. Moreover, the control range of more than 800 meters makes the attack methods of my floating gun more diverse and concealed. If you watch my battle video, you will find that the trajectory of my 8 floating guns is almost irregular, which makes it difficult for the opponent to defend. I said this, you can understand it, right? I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. I have lived for so many years, and have never heard of such a spiritual power. This seems to be a fortune given to you by God. Teacher is right. Dr. Emerson exclaimed. Zuo King's heart was once again in turmoil. The man I like is so outstanding. Xia Xingchen, you wait and see how I eat you. Xia Xingchen said, the two teachers are too kind. I wonder if my design can catch your eyes. Very good. Even if I design it, it may not be as reasonable as your design. Zuo Leheng said. I didn't expect that Xingchen's design concept is really similar to Brother Freeze. It is completely close to actual combat. Very good. However, due to my occupational disease, I have to give you some advice. Now the GLONASS system has a new generation of products, and the energy storage battery of your floating gun is also a bit outdated. If you use the DC9900 battery newly launched by Tang Dynasty Group, the energy storage capacity can be 50% higher than your current battery. However, the cost may increase by nearly 5 billion. Dr. Emerson said. He is studying the new technology application of Mechas, always standing at the forefront of science and technology, and knows all the new technologies and new products. Xia Xingchen's eyes lit up when he heard it. Teacher Emerson, where can I buy it? This little money is nothing to me. Just follow your advice. If you have a channel, I will transfer the money to you. How about you help me buy it? Okay, that's it. I'll place an order right away. After discussing the mecha transformation design plan, they began to build various parts in the manufacturing workshop of the laboratory. The two teachers were responsible for guidance, and Xia Xingchen and Zuo King made it themselves. 4 days later, the latest GLONASS laser weapon system and DC9900 battery they ordered were delivered to the 1524 Mecha Club. In the past few days, Xia Xingchen and Zuo King went to listen to Zuo Leheng's lectures during the day, and followed Zuo Leo to modify the mecha in the afternoon and evening. They were not just modifying the Dragon Rider mecha. Zuo Leo asked Xia Xingchen and Zuo King to design and modify the mecha on the entire Tangyang, and to come up with a modification plan. Zuo Leo and Dr. Emerson commented on, and guided their designs. In just a few days, the two gained a lot. Xia Xingchen spent 2 nights to complete the assembly of the flying wing and the floating gun. Xia Xingchen assembled a total of 8 floating guns, so that he could add new floating guns at any time after the damage in the battle. He also got a universal version of the Dragon Rider mecha directly from the exhibition hall of the 1524 Mecha Club for installation experiments. He was very satisfied with the performance of the new floating gun. He specially commissioned the logistics company of Tang Dynasty Group to deliver mechas and accessories to deliver the modified Dragoon system accessories and accessories used to transform mechas for other comrades to the Tangyang. This week, Mr. Zuo Leheng's course was very popular among students, and Princess Crossing was recently busy selecting members of the Princess Guard, so they still had more than 10 days of vacation. Under the enthusiastic request of the students and the principal of the Imperial Military Command Academy, Mr. Zuo agreed to give 5 more classes and continue to answer the questions raised by the students. In addition to the Military Command Academy, the mecha maintenance and design departments of several other schools in the capital star region broadcast Mr. Zuo Leheng's 2-week course live. However, Xia Xingchen did not have time to attend the class again. At this time, he was on a small island more than 1,000 kilometers away from the military academy, receiving special training from Mr. Qin Ren. Although he left Shia Neo and Star, Xia Xingchen has been training according to the plan set by Qin Ren for him. Especially with Yugo there, the two of them had fierce actual combat every day, and he made great progress. After returning this time, and modifying the Dragoon system, Xia Xingchen took the initiative to visit Mr. Qin Ren with gifts. Qin Ren fought with him for a few moves, and found that his progress was beyond his imagination. So Qin decided to give Xia Xingchen special training and teach him more powerful martial arts. Qin has a private island with a radius of dozens of kilometers in the sea hundreds of kilometers away from the shore, called Bowl Island. He has a villa on the island and a huge training center. Qin and his 3 brothers and hundreds of disciples received special training here. Yugo, Bimoan, Jetal and others came with Xia Xingchen. They have been living a life of luxury for a few days, and Xia Xingchen decided to knock them. So he brought them here, and Mr. Qin asked his disciples to arrange terrible special training for them. As for Yugo, Qin and Mr. Qin arranged hundreds of disciples for him to fight with him, which made Yugo very happy. Chapter 274, Sky-Breaking Hammer. Qin and the old man took Xia Xingchen to the west of the island. There was a cliff on the seashore. On top of the cliff were piles of huge rocks. Not far away was a dense forest. It was more than 10 kilometers away from Qin's villa. Qin bent down and ran all the way. Xia Xingchen struggled to catch up with him. The two came to an open space next to the rubble. Come on, Xingchen, let's fight. Yes, old man. Xia Xingchen saluted and took the initiative to attack. He knew that his current level was very different from Qin, so he was not polite at all and used all his strength as soon as he attacked. He was like a tiger coming down the mountain. He used the 36 tiger moves to the fullest. Qin and the old man cheered up and took on the fight calmly. The two fought for more than 10 minutes. Qin's defense was flawless. Xia Xingchen was the first to stop his moves and saluted. Old man, thank you for letting me. Not bad, kid, your moves are proficient and reasonable, and your skills have also increased a lot. The 36 tiger styles and turtle breathing technique are the basics. Now you have a solid foundation. Now it's time to teach you more powerful moves. The move I'm about to teach you is called the Sky-Breaking Hammer. I'll tell you the formula of this move first. You write it down first. At this point, Qin recited a martial arts formula. He only said it once, and Xia Xingchen remembered it. He immediately recited it to Qin Leo, word for word. Okay, kid, watch, I'll show you. Sky-Breaking Hammer. Qin moved. His movements were not fast, but they gave people a great sense of pressure. Sky-Breaking Hammer has 3 attack methods: chopping palm, cannon hammer and storm kick. Xia Xingchen's inside skill was fully activated, and he carefully felt Qin's way of exerting force, his moves, and his rhythm. Whenever he chopped down with his palm, it came with the sound of wind and whistling. Whenever he hit with a cannon hammer, he was not fast at the beginning, but he was the first to arrive after the attack, and his fist was like lightning, gathering all the strength of his body, which could split the mountain and break the rocks. Whenever he kicked out, his whip kick stirred the air, forming a sharp blade that could kill the enemy. Qin's movements became faster and faster, and his body shape kept changing. With one leap, he left the open space and entered the pile of rocks. He chopped with both arms and hit the boulders beside him, and the broken stones flew everywhere. Then he turned around again, facing the boulder in front of him, and hit it with another cannon hammer. The boulder in front of him was a huge granite with a diameter of more than 3 meters and a smooth surface. Qin came to the boulder, slowly stretched out his right hand, and suddenly a fist shadow flashed, and he punched the center of the boulder. Cracks began to appear around the point where the boulder and the fist touched. A second later, the boulder actually broke into small pieces of stone and gravel. Xia Xingchen was stunned. Then, Qin jumped out of the pile of rocks and came to a forest not far away. He kicked sideways. His feet were like whips. 2 wind blades, one on the left and one on the right, cut several trees as thick as bowls more than 10 meters away in half. Then he slowly finished his work. How is it, Xingchen? I hit it 5 times. Do you understand it? Old man, I have memorized all the moves, but if I understand correctly, these moves are just some of the fur. If I use the same moves and force methods to attack the rocks now, I will definitely end up with broken bones and tendons. Yes, your comprehension is really high. Combined with the formula I just taught you, think about it carefully, and then tell me how you feel. Xia Xingchen thought hard, and Qin's every move just now emerged in his mind. His movements, rhythm, and the changes in every muscle in his body were all very clear. Concentrate the key in the body, use the blood as a guide. The description and the formula and Qin's movements were integrated. He said, "Old man, my understanding is to use the ki in the body to protect the body, increase the strength of the flesh, body tissues and bones. Then use the blood circulation in the body to stimulate the power in the body. Use moves to guide this power and release it at the most suitable time and place. Be the last to arrive first and release the power to the extreme. Is that right?" Qin Ren applauded. "Good boy, you have a good memory and understanding. It seems that you have completely mastered the sky-breaking hammer. I don't need to teach you anything. However, your current ability is not enough, and you still need to practice hard. First of all, your physical strength is not enough. You must keep grinding and tempering your body according to the formula, and use the turtle breathing technique to constantly repair your body. Second, your proficiency is not enough, and you can't integrate the moves into your usual combat. Third, the sky-breaking hammer can only be applied to the combat of mechas after you really understand it. In time, when you have mastered the sky-breaking hammer, you will not be without the ability to fight directly with the air-level mecha master. In the next few days, you will practice here. If you don't understand anything, come to the villa to find me." Qin Ren turned back to the villa, and Xia Xingchen immersed himself in the hard training. For 7 days, he didn't leave here and kept training. When he ran out of energy, he practiced the turtle breathing technique on the spot to meditate. When his energy recovered, he immediately started training again. Fortunately, he carried food in his portable mecha space, saving him the trouble of running back and forth. 7 days later, when Qin Ren came here again, Xia Xingchen was chiseling stones in the rubble. Qin Ren found that the destructive power of Xia Xingchen's moves had exceeded his own when he demonstrated that day, when he only used 70% of his strength. Now it seems that it won't be long before Xia Xingchen will surpass himself. He is very pleased to have such a student. In fact, one thing he didn't know was that in order to get familiar with the moves as soon as possible, Xia Xingchen used a trick. That is, he used mental power to wrap his body with mental power, which perfectly solved the problem of his insufficient physical strength at this stage. Although this consumes a lot of mental power, it is really nothing for Xia Xingchen, who has a crystal pyramid and a total mental power of dozens of times that of ordinary people. What makes Xia Xingchen even happier is that his mental power level has actually broken through in these days of meditation and reached level 27. Chapter 275 Return to the team. Xia Xingchen followed Qin Ren to Bowl Island for special training in martial arts. Qin Ren taught him the powerful martial arts sky-breaking hammer. After 7 days of sleepless training, Xia Xingchen, coupled with his genius in integrating mental power into martial arts, basically mastered this martial art. What made him even happier was that during the continuous meditation of the past few days, his mental power level actually broke through again and reached level 27. The mental power level reached level 27, which meant that the area of Xia Xingchen's spiritual sea was several times larger than when he was at level 26. This did not have much impact on him. However, what made him very excited was that Xia Xingchen found that the volume of his portable mecha space had greatly increased, turning into a sphere with a diameter of 15 meters. Now if the accessories are placed reasonably, he can even place 3 mechas and a large amount of other supplies in the portable mecha space. Another change that can greatly improve his strength is that the number of Xia Xingchen's mental power clones has increased again. He can now control 8 mental power clones, and the mutual sensing range of these mental power clones has increased to 1000 meters. That is to say, Xia Xingchen's mecha's floating gun can leave the mecha mother body at a maximum distance of 1000 meters from now on. In addition, the range of his inside skill has been increased by more than 10 meters. Seeing Xia Xingchen's energetic look, Qin Ren was also happy for him. He handed Xia Xingchen a data storage device. "Xingchen, here is my training plan for you, and there are also several sword techniques videos. Although it doesn't matter whether you have weapons or not, when you reach a certain level, as a mecha master, it is necessary to master the use of weapons. To practice martial arts, you must persevere. For martial artists, practicing martial arts is like sailing against the current. If you don't advance, you will retreat. For you, Xingchen, at this level, the next practice is very important for you. If you can't seize the opportunity to move up to a higher level, you will hardly make any progress in your martial arts in this life. Moreover, at your current level, it will be very difficult to improve your martial arts skills. It is not enough to just practice stupidly. You must rely on more actual combat, especially in life and death battles. You will gain more. Thank you for your heartfelt words, old man. I will learn from you. Xia Xingchen bowed to the ground, and Qin Ren accepted it calmly. After Xia Xingchen and Qin Ren returned to the villa, he cleaned up his personal hygiene and changed his clothes. He followed Qin Ren to the training center to take over the servants. When he saw these people, he almost laughed. Except for Wugo, the others had sunken eye sockets and haggard faces, and were being chased by people with electric buttons, and subjected to cruel training. Qin Ren's disciples knew the physiological structure of the human body very well. They could squeeze every bit of physical energy out of the human body without causing any damage to the human body. If Xia Xingchen had not trained them before, they would probably be dead now. Compared with here, Xia Xingchen was too kind, and his training was just a drizzle. Looking at Wugo again, he had some external injuries on his body, and was fighting with more than a dozen people holding various weapons with his bare hands. The Terami people were born masters of fighting, and their speed and strength were simply incomparable to humans. What's more, the Terami people had hard keratin on their heads, elbows, and knees. Some vital parts of the body were even protected by hard fine scales. If he was unarmed, dozens of people would not be his opponent, so he took the initiative to ask the other party to use weapons. Although this caused some damage to his body, it was nothing for the Terami people who had excellent recovery and resistance to attacks. Seeing Yugo's excited state, Xia Xingchen knew that he was very happy here. Qin Ren and the old man also made training plans for these people, and their miserable lives would continue for nearly a year. Xia Xingchen handed the task of supervising their training to Yugo, believing that they had no way to be lazy under Yugo's violent management. He left Bolstar with his men, and took them back to the hotel to settle them down. Xia Xingchen went to the palace again, to ask Princess Qinjana about the recruitment of the knights, to determine the time for the Tangyang to leave. Princess Crossing said that all the personnel had been recruited, and now all they had to do was wait for those people to transfer the file relationship of their troops and deal with their personal affairs. They would assemble in 5 days and gather at the space station together. Xia Xingchen decided to return to Tangyang the next day because there were still mechas that needed him to refit. Xia Xingchen wanted to leave that night, but under Qinjana's pleading, he stayed in the princess's bedroom for another night. Princess Crossing couldn't leave him anymore. The next day, Xia Xingchen and his party, including Mr. Zhuo Liheng, took the space shuttle back to the Tangyang. Although very reluctant, Zhuo King was left to continue studying at the Imperial Military Command Academy. Only here was she the safest. Zhuo King cried bitterly because the two people she cared about most in the world were on the Tangyang, and she really didn't want to leave. But she also knew that her current ability could only hold her back, so the little girl secretly vowed to become stronger and become Xia Xingchen's solid backing. After Xia Xingchen reported the princess's itinerary to Captain Van Horn, he plunged into the mecha maintenance workshop and began to modify the Dragon Rider Flying General Mecha. Some mecha masters who had already returned to the team and Mr. Zhuo were watching from the side. Xia Xingchen quickly removed the flywheel and floating gun and sent them to the mecha parts warehouse of Tangyang. Maybe they can be used someday. For the military mecha repairmen, collecting junk is their professional habit because there is often a shortage of supplies on the battlefield, and maybe one day these junks, that are usually not looked down upon by people, will save their lives. In just over 80 minutes, a complex Dragon Rider War General mecha was almost disassembled. The reason why I say almost is that the cockpit, power cabin and nuclear engine were not disassembled. The disassembly and assembly of nuclear engines is very troublesome and requires special equipment. Then Xia Xingchen transported the mecha parts that had just been customized from Xianyu and Star and Xianwei 8 a few days ago and started to assemble them without even looking at the drawings. The assembly process is very complicated. Even Xia Xingchen took more than 6 hours to assemble the mecha. Since the modification rate of the mecha has long exceeded 20%, Xia Xingchen must also rewrite the operating system. This is a difficult task for ordinary mecha technicians, even senior mecha maintenance technicians. But rewriting the operating system is very easy for Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen sat in the cockpit, connected an external keyboard and started typing. After more than 2 hours, the program was completed. The content on the monitor that Xia Xingchen saw while programming was transferred by Mr. Zuo Leheng to the large screen outside the mecha maintenance design table. Other mecha maintenance technicians saw the source code being written continuously from Xia Xingchen's fingertips, and before they could see the content clearly, the new code behind it was refreshed on the screen. They remembered that the person sitting in the cockpit could not be described as a genius, but a monster. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.